I call to order the regular meeting of the York County School Board for March 25th, 2024. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. We have quite a bit of important business, so we'll get started right away. And the first thing that's important is we have a special young lady who is going to be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And while she comes up, I'll read some information about her. Josephine Johnson is a fifth grader at Grafton Bethel Elementary School. Josephine is a member of our school's Anchored for Life Club, where she acts as an ambassador to all new students to our school. In collaboration with our school counselor, she gives our newest Grizzlies tours of the building and welcome kits to support a smooth transition to the school. She also appears on our Grizzly Morning News Show, where she is responsible for reading an inspirational quote. Josephine organized the club's Pet Drive service project, where the school is collecting and donating pet supplies to the SPCA. Josephine is always willing to lend a helping hand to her teachers and classmates. She is a kind-hearted young lady who consistently models the characteristics of positive Grizzly. She is a great big sister and friend with her empathetic and caring personality. In her spare time, she enjoys swimming, crocheting, camping with her family, and exploring places such as Germany and the Dominican Republic. She is actively striving to enhance her speaking and reading ability by reading and listening to books in German. She's always busy working on projects and coming up with new ideas. Grafton Bethel Elementary is pleased to announce her as our pledge leader for the month. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And let's see, we have Seniors of the Month. Dr. Shandor, do you want to help with that, or? Okay, that sounds good. Is Bruton High? Are they here yet? Okay, they're on their way. I think they're caught in traffic. So we're going to move down to Grafton High School, Mr. Pajevich.
Well, I would like to ask Shadeh Braboy, stand up and please be recognized. So, and your family as well. So, Grafton High School is very proud to name Shadeh Braboy as the March Senior of the Month. Academically, Shadeh sits among the top 10 of the senior class with an impressive 4.34 GPA. She has challenged herself by taking numerous advanced and AP classes. Not only will Shadeh graduate in 2024 with numerous honors, but her teachers hold her in high regards. As a member of the Grafton High School Marching Band, Spanish, Music, and National Honor Society, Shadeh has been involved in a leader both in and out of the classroom. She has served as a second chair percussion in the Grafton High School Wind Ensemble. Shadeh also participated in the Grafton drama productions. She has taken part in the Grafton High School 10 Minutes plays and was in the cast of the Once Upon a Matters, performing the last fall. Shadeh also is a member of the Virginia Earth System Science Scholars, where she was able to spend a week at the NASA Langley planning a hypothetical mission addressing sea level change. Shadeh has been recognized at the ANCAP Awards every year of high school for her academic excellence. She also loves giving back to the community and is a member of the Branches of the Vine Community Church Media Team, where she operates the live feed and visuals for her church Sunday services. Grafton High is very happy to name Shadeh Braboy March's Senior of the Month. She epitomizes what it truly means to be a Clipper, and we can wait to see what she does next. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you so much and congratulations. I actually have Tab High School, and it's Alyssa Vargas. If you could please stand, and any of your family with you. Tab High is proud to announce Alyssa Vargas as our Senior of the Month for March. With an impressive 4.9591 GPA, Alyssa has demonstrated outstanding academic excellence. Alyssa serves as the president of Girls Who Code, where she spearheads the creation of monthly newsletters that highlight coding. She has also organized coding workshops at the Mariners Museum, catering to students ages 10 to 14. Alyssa has played a major role in expanding access to STEM education in underserved communities. Alyssa is also the founder and president of the International Language Club. She successfully recruited 20 members and actively supports students in maintaining their language skills. Alyssa is also the president of the Research Club, where she provides valuable guidance to her peers in their research endeavors. Alyssa had the opportunity to collaborate with a computational linguistics professor, where she verified 400 behavioral science papers to ensure program accuracy. Engaging in another project, she developed a vector search engine, enabling text and image embeddings. Grateful for the chance to delve into her field and her passion, she looks forward to attending Yale University upon graduation. With anticipation for her promising future, we congratulate Alyssa, our Tab High School Senior of the Month. Thank you so much and congratulations. Mrs. Goodwin, could you introduce York High's Senior of the Month?
It is Matt. Our York High School Senior of the Month is Matthew Fan. Matthew had a previous engagement with his youth orchestra, and he cannot attend this evening. So he will attend May's meeting, and we will celebrate him at that time.
That's great. Thank you very much on that. And Mr. Schaefer? Do we have Bruton High's representative here?
He's on his way.
He's still on his way. All right.
We'll probably do it right
him
after
at the
Accent
end.
for Academics. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
We'll give them some time to come in. All righty then. The next section is Student Service Awards. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. I have the pleasure of introducing the Student Service Award for Grafton Bethel Elementary, Morgan Kent. If Morgan can come forward with Ms. Humble.
Yeah.
It is with great pleasure that we announce and celebrate the exceptional dedication and service of one of our outstanding fifth grade students, Morgan Kent. She has consistently gone above and beyond in contributing to our school community, embodying the spirit of service, leadership, and compassion. Morgan has demonstrated leadership at Grafton Bethel Elementary in serving on the principal advisory group and being a positive role model to her peers. She shows empathy and compassion towards her classmates, teachers, and staff. During our principal advisory group monthly meetings, she brings ideas and suggestions on how to make Grafton Bethel Elementary a positive and nurturing environment for all. She is leading the group in creating a presentation proposal to share with our PTA to ask for funds to purchase a floor for our school's Gagaball pit. In her spare time, Morgan enjoys running track, crocheting, and cheering. Morgan is a member of the Hampton Roads Hurricanes Track Club and a 2024 AAU Track and Field All-American. She is a national silver medalist in the long jump, and she currently has 11 AAU Track and Field All-American medals. She was also awarded the Boo Williams King and Queen Indoor Track and Field in her age group. Morgan is also an active member of a Girl Scout troop, City Hurricanes cheerleading captain, and Tri-City Hurricanes basketball, and an active member of Ivy Baptist Church 116 Youth Ministry. Please join us in congratulating Morgan Kent as Grafton Bethel Student Service Award winner.
That's great.
Gaga ball.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
We
that
all learned something
clarification.
tonight. Mr. Schaefer, if you
Yes.
could introduce our next Student Service Award winner.
Okay. Gabriella Townsend, come on down. Yeah. Yeah. I've known Gabby since she was a baby, and she was in my wife's first grade class, and now here she is a senior. She's here tonight with her father, Howard Townsend IV, her mother, Cara, her grandmother, Mrs. Preston, and her brother, Howard Townsend V. Okay? We are honored to recognize Gabriella Townsend as a Student Service Award winner for Bruton High School for her outstanding dedication to service, leadership, and community engagement. Gabby has demonstrated a genuine commitment to her peers' well-being as well as the improvement of VHS and our community. She's an active member of multiple school organizations, volunteering through Key Club, National Honor Society, Principal Advisory Council, Panther Achievement Leaders, just to name a few. Gabby's impact on our school culture goes beyond membership in clubs and organizations. Her determination to make her peers' school year memorable resulted in experiences and events which will become part of every Panthers high school experience for years to come. She has spearheaded with unparalleled enthusiasm student faculty basketball, that was great, and volleyball games, 100th day of school, senior service day, powder puff, and the senior parking spaces. Gabby's service to BHS each day serves as a shining example of the positive impact one Panther can have on a school. We're immensely proud to present Gabby with this well-deserved recognition for her outstanding contributions to our school community. Congratulations, Gabby.
Thank you. And Mr. Richardson, would you please introduce the Community Volunteer of the Month?
Yes, our Community Volunteer of the Month comes from Grafton Bethel Elementary, Lee Lincoln. She could come forward with Ms. Humble. Grafton Bethel would like to recognize Lee Lincoln as the Volunteer of the Month. Ms. Lincoln is a parent of a first and fourth grader, and in collaboration with our school counselor, Ms. Lincoln created the Yoga Club. Each Monday morning, the club meets in the gym to start their week positively. Ms. Lincoln teaches the students in the club all about the benefits of yoga. She teaches our students that the combination of mindful breathing, meditation, and physical movement in yoga helps activate the relaxation response, reducing stress and promoting a sense of calm. The Yoga Club fosters a sense of belonging to the school connection, contributing to the overall well-being of our students. Ms. Lincoln is also a member of the Helping Hands group at Grafton Bethel Elementary. Each Wednesday, a group of parent volunteers meet to laminate, prep, and provide support for our teachers and staff. Ms. Lincoln is also an assistant coach of our school's Girl on the Run team. As a trained coach, she uses physical activity and dynamic discussions to build social, emotional, and physical skills while encouraging healthy habits for life. Mrs. Lincoln is also currently a graduate student at William & Mary and is studying to be a school counselor. When she is not at Grafton Bethel volunteering, she enjoys running, teaching yoga, coaching soccer, and spending time with her family. Please join us in congratulating Ms. Lincoln as Grafton Bethel's Volunteer of the Month.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Schaefer, could you please introduce the York Foundation for Public Education presentation?
I'd be happy to. I'd like to invite Ms. Kathleen Murphy, York Foundation for Public Education member, to step forward and assist Dr. Shandor as he presents gifts to each of our award recipients. Please come up front when you hear your name called. Congratulations to Josephine Johnson, a fifth grade student from Grafton Bethel Elementary School, for reciting the Pledge of Allegiance at tonight's school board meeting. We would also like to recognize, there you go, tonight's Student Service Award recipients, Morgan Kent from Grafton Bethel Elementary School, and Gabriella Townsend from Bruton High School. We also congratulate our seniors of the month, and just to note that York High Senior of the Month, Matthew Fan, will be recognized at May's regular board meeting, as he was unable to attend tonight. But tonight we have Sade Brayboy from Grafton High School, and Alyssa Vargas from Tab High School. Special gifts from Cookie Text and Edible Tweet are being presented on behalf of the York Foundation for Public Education in partnership with our donor, Jean Fioca of Cookie Text and Edible Tweet. A Walmart gift card is also being donated by a foundation supporter. Join me in congratulating all our award recipients.
Thank you so much. All right. Dr. Shandor, could you please share some information about tonight's accent on academics? Oh, sure. Wonderful.
Yep. All right.
Mr. Schaefer, if you could introduce Bruton High's Senior of the Month. And
Yes.
we're so glad you were able to make it.
Yes, there we go. Ryan Dang, come on down, or stand up, I'm sorry. Stand up with your family. I was calling you out. And your family can stand also. Yeah, we'll embarrass them along right with you. Okay?
There you go.
Yeah. Bruton High School is proud to recognize Ryan Dang as our March 2024 Student of the Month. Throughout his high school career, Ryan has exhibited a desire to pursue academic excellence. Each year, he has taken advanced and/or AP level courses while maintaining an above-average grade point average. His course of study includes the highest level of courses offered at our school. This year, Ryan continues to maintain rigor as he enrolled in a full schedule of courses to include 5 AP level courses. That's as a senior, so he's not slacking off his senior year. In addition to his academic pursuits and responsibilities, Ryan is an active member of our school and local community. He is a member of the soccer and cross-country teams and was inducted into the Spanish and Math Honor Societies. Through his membership in Key Club, Ryan volunteers in the community. He juggles all of these responsibilities while working a part-time job at a local restaurant. When asked, Ryan's teacher commented on Ryan's resiliency and ability to adapt quickly. He stands out as a leader in the classroom, but is always willing to collaborate with classmates. He is somewhat of an enigma, as he can be the serious student, but also that guy that gets all the students hyped at a school pep rally. Ryan is an example of the type of responsible citizen that our school strives to create. He is ambitious, determined, and sympathetic, the needed ingredients to make a successful collegiate student and productive citizen. Congratulations, Ryan. Very cool.
And thank you so much. And so now, Dr. Shandor with Accent on Academics.
Thank you, Ms. Fairman. Good evening, board members. This evening, Queens Lake Middle School will be presenting information regarding their the Great American Park Project. As Queens Lake Middle School continues to focus on integrating reading and writing across the curriculum, as well as engaging students through real-world applications, the goal of this project for U.S. History 2 students was to create an amusement park that represents the different regions of the United States and highlight the unique qualities of each region. Students utilize creativity, collaboration, critical thinking skills, and in-depth inquiry as they progress through this long-range project in history class. So I'm going to ask Ms. Candace Welch, the principal from Queens Lake, if she'll please come up and introduce her team.
Good evening, and thank you for spotlighting Queens Lake Middle School for this month's Accent on Academics. I am Candace Welch, proud principal at Queens Lake, and this year we have been very committed to literacy as we recognize the importance for our future-ready graduates to have solid foundations in reading and writing. One of our school-wide goals is taking an all-hands-on-deck approach by intentionally building in effective reading strategies as well as content-related writing opportunities for our students across the curriculum. We recognize that the hard work to truly meet the needs of our students has to be done in social studies, science, math, and encore classes, and cannot solely be an effort for our English department and reading specialist. Our exceptional staff at Queens Lake has risen to the challenge, and Mr. Brian Cole in particular understood the assignment and will soon share how he incorporates the elements of literacy into his U.S. History 2 classes. Mr. Cole is in his 28th year teaching and is not only an incredibly talented history teacher, he also serves as our department head for history, is a mentor teacher, student connection coach, and goes above and beyond to build meaningful relationships with students and engage them in high-quality lessons each day. A personal passion of his is theme parks, and he is actually one of the voices of the Sesame Street Forest of Fun at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Mr. Cole was able to tie together our literacy goal, his SOL focus of diverse regions of the United States, and his passion for theme parks into an excellent learning opportunity for our students. I'm excited for you all to hear from him and 4 of our outstanding students this evening as they share their perspectives on completing this long-range project. Without further ado, I'd like to hand the presentation over to the outstanding Mr. Brian Cole.
Thank you, Mrs. Welsh. As we all know, writing is not merely a skill confined to English class. It is a key to unlocking a world of comprehension and critical thinking for our students. As a former elementary school teacher, I know the importance of writing for our students. As a history teacher currently at the secondary level, I also know that writing allows our students to explore and understand historical events, perspectives, and the human experience. Therefore, it is important for me to continue to incorporate writing in my class. Whether it's creating fabricated stories to learn more about yellow journalism, or writing letters from the trenches on the Western Front during World War I try to work in writing projects that provide our students with diverse opportunities to engage with the past. One of these writing projects involved students working in groups to create sections of a theme park that highlight each region and significant city that we were studying. Here to present their project are Leah, Bonnie, Lydia, and Lucy.
Welcome to our park. Hi, my name is Bonnie, and I'm going to show you guys the northeast region of our park. We're all very excited to start this project. The first thing we did was choose a team with a maximum of 5 people. Then we chose our 3 regions. We brainstormed ideas for the rides and split the work evenly. Lucy wrote the paragraphs, Lydia designed the maps, and Leah and I designed most of the rides and sides. An important part of the criteria was writing. This paragraph gives an overview of the northeast region of our park. We talk about our 4 rides and the 9 states in the region, which are Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Our first ride in the northeast region was the New York City Big Apple. We named this ride after the city's nickname, the Big Apple. Next, we have the Boston Tea Plunge. Many historical events have happened in Boston. One of them was the Boston Tea Party. In this ride, you are the crate of tea, and at the end of the ride, you get splashed in the water. Then we have the Philadelphia Skyline. This ride lets you experience the famous skyline on an electrifying roller coaster. Last but definitely not least is the 3-river city, Pittsburgh. This ride highlights the 2 rivers that form the Ohio River. The Pittsburgh River is a lazy river that flows around the entire northeast region of our park.
Hi, my name is Lydia. My role in this group project was to create the maps. These maps are separated into Northeast, Southwest, and Rocky Mountains. I created these maps using Google and Canva. This is the map of the Northwest region. It includes the Boston Tea Plunge, the New York Big Apple, the Pittsburgh River, which is the tea line going all around this region of the park, and the skyline of Philadelphia. This area includes facilities like parking, the ticket booth, and restrooms. In this region, my favorite ride is the New York Big Apple.
Hello, my name is Lucy. I wrote all the paragraphs introducing each region. 2 of the criteria for the project were to inform the guests about how many states there are in that region and to write about each ride. For the Southwest region, there are several states, including Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas, as well as rides based on the major cities in these states. For the first ride, we chose a colorful roller coaster to highlight Santa Fe's love for color. The next ride was a water plunge to tell the story of the Alamo. And like Busch Gardens Pompeii, you experience the Battle of the Alamo, and as you near the end of the ride, you get splashed into a pool of refreshing water to signify that you have made it through the battle and are safe.
And here we are again at the Southwest map. The rides in this map are the Santa Fe Color Coaster and the San Antonio Alamo. The facilities here are a snack bar, another restroom, picnic tables, and a first aid station. I like the cactus that I added.
Hi, my name is Leah, and I will be presenting the Rocky Mountain region. One of the checklist items that we had to complete was to write a conclusion sentence at the end of the paragraph. When you write a paragraph, you should always have a sentence that summarizes the major points. For each region, we had to design an amusement park ride that highlights the significance of cities. One of the cities that is located in the Rocky Mountain region is Salt Lake City, Utah. For this city, we created a ride that is a paddle boat shaped like a duck. You are paddling through a lake. This ride is shaped like a duck because Salt Lake City has lots of birds. The next city is Denver, Colorado. For this ride, you're wearing 4D glasses. You're portraying a snow skier who is trying to get away from a Yeti that is chasing you. We created this ride because Denver is very snowy, and who knows, maybe contains a Yeti or two.
This is our Rocky Mountain map. The rides for this area include the Salt Lake Duckies and the Denver Skiers, and the Yeti. I added the statue of the dabbing Yeti for fun. The facilities here are another snack bar and restrooms. Salt Lake Duckies is my favorite ride overall. This is all our regions combined to make the full park map. This map was definitely the hardest one to create, and that is our proposal for the Great American Park. Does anybody have any questions?
Who has some questions? Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes, I was just wondering, that's amazing. It looks like a lot of fun. What was your favorite part in creating this park project?
My favorite part was probably getting to work with my friends in my group and also being able to add any ride that we wanted just to create our own theme park.
How long did it take you to get all this stuff together? I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It took around 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, around 2 weeks.
So how do you guys pick your own regions?
We looked through the criteria and then decided which ones we liked the best.
Just had a question. Had you studied the regions before you started this, or was the study of the regions while you were doing it? Or a little of both?
The unit before this, we were talking about all the states and the regions, and so this was the project to sum up that unit.
Now I have a question. Where are you going to put this theme park?
Probably in the center of the United States where everybody can come in and just see the regions.
That's really great. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? I want to thank you so much. I know when I was teaching, I coordinated a lot. I was an English teacher and coordinated with some of the different core subjects to get writing and reading in those subjects, and it was a lot of fun, and I know the students enjoyed that, so I think it's wonderful that you're continuing to do the same thing for your students. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Cole, just thank you also for doing such a great job. Appreciate you.
There we go. At this time, we will take a short recess. So tonight's award recipients can get some pictures, and I know a lot of the students leave to be ready for school tomorrow. So we will take a short recess. Thank you. will now reconvene our business meeting. Mrs. Goodwin, would you please introduce our guest for the invocation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the invocation this evening, we have Pastor Alvin Georges from the Mount Peninsula Church who will offer the invocation. Pastor Georges, you have read and understand the guidelines for delivering the invocation.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I have. Thank you for the opportunity to serve tonight. Here's my prayer. Gracious and Heavenly Father, thank you for the time we have tonight to come together as a team to better our community, better our schools, and to equip and to empower the next generation. We ask that everything that is done and said tonight would ultimately please you. Every decision that is made, every plan that is presented, let it come into alignment with what you will. We pray for every board member that they would have the grace of wisdom and discernment to push this system to a greater level of progress and productivity. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We do not have any unfinished business this evening, so we will be moving along to our presentations. And the first thing is board member committee updates. As a board, we're going to be sharing information related to our committees that we serve on. Let's see, District 1, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay. Yes, I'm the York Foundation for Public Education board member that is aligned with them, and we had our meeting last month. It was very good. We talked about the golf tournament that's coming up, so anyone that's a golfer, it's going to be here local, not out at Kiskiak this year. So we'd like to get as many golfers as possible, as this is probably our biggest fundraiser of the year. And I'm going to put a plug in, a shameless plug, for YFPE that would like to have more members, okay? So if you'd like to be part of an organization that helps not only raise money but administer the scholarships and the different things that they do to support the teachers and students of York County, YFPE is for you. I think that we've had a number of people over the years give their heart and soul into it. And they put out about $80,000 worth of scholarships a year. So they do a good job, and it's strictly for the schools and the students and teachers of York County School District. Okay.
Thank you very much. District 2, Mr. Pajevich.
All right, I would like to just give an update on the committee that I'm a part of. It's the CTE Advisory Committee, which is the Career Technical Education Advisory Committee. We discussed several options, and we completed a review of comprehensive local needs assessment plan. The review is done every 2 years as part of the annual Strengthening Career and Technical Education for 21st Century Act, which includes the Perkins Grant application. Also, we reviewed the budget priorities for the year for the Perkins Grant application that have two requirements, which is required expenditures and permissive expenditures. With required expenditures, there is professional development, support for special populations, and a regional program participation. And for permissive expenditures, industry certification exams, equipment, and instructional resources. During our meeting, we had a presentation from several student groups, especially from the Tab High School, where we got an update about technology education. They showed us house framing models that they've been building. They were designed, the group of the students, they designed a winning trophy for the YCSD Elementary STEM Challenge. It was very impressive group of kids that took upon themselves to build it and actually use the 3D printer to make it. Then we got an update on marketing and education from different groups. Also, we were presented with the unmanned aircraft system that we had 9 students from the Tab High School who passed the FAA remote pilot certification, which was great news. NJROTC visited the U.S. Coast Guard Training Facility, and DECA State Leadership Conference. We have 19 students that competed. 14 students earned proficiency certificates in their events. 4 students qualify for the International Career Development Conference, which is going to be next month in California. Also, FBLA Regional Conference, 13 students competed and 8 students qualify for the State Leadership Conference. So that concludes my report for my committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 3, Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes, I am on the GIAC committee, which is the Gifted Education Advisory Committee, and we have not met this month. We will meet next month, and I will have more updates, as well as the Health Advisory Committee, which I believe is meeting next month.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. District 4, Mr. Richardson.
Yes, I have a committee report for the Hampton Roads Education Advisory Council for WHRO. They will be offering some grants and to entities that are in our region, and these are all just small grants ranging about $3,000 to $5,000. I think they have about $105,000 worth of grant money to divvy out. They also talked about offerings from presentations from the Virginia Opera to students in our area to learn about the opera. In addition, they will have a new online course offerings in algebra and some other courses. The WHRO spelling bee has already happened, but they won't actually put it out and broadcast it until April 6th because of other spelling bees going on within throughout the state. So they have a certain date that they can't televise that. So that will be televised April 6th at 2 p.m. And all the agenda and reports from the meeting are uploaded on board docs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have for District 5. On March 19th, I attended the Special Education Advisory Committee meeting, and it's usually known as SEAC. So if you see SEAC, that's what it stands for. It was at the school board office. Parents and staff attended in person, and some parents attended via video conference to participate in the discussions. This committee is a great resource for our special education community, and I encourage you all to call the school board office to get information about attending future meetings as well as volunteering. Mrs. Hopkins' presentation reviewed upcoming grant funds and how they will be spent, and the need to fill open committee leadership positions of SEAC terms ending in June. This is your way to get involved to help your child as well as our other students here in YCSD. One of the main discussion points was a need to improve communication to our entire YCSD community for SEAC activities with enough time for families to know about it to be able to participate. We had several suggestions from parents on how to do this, and the staff will be working on implementing different ways and timing to reach everyone so everyone has an opportunity to attend and participate. And one of the important things that was announced, a very important event is coming on 23 April. It will be the return of the Special Olympics Little Feet Meet. It's for our kindergarten through 5th grade students. It will be at Tab High School's track from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also need high school volunteers to help with the activities that day. This event is for the entire YCSD community to enjoy cheering on our students. Keep an eye out for emails and school announcements on how to participate as an athlete, family, or volunteer. This event has been missing since the 2020 lockdowns, so everyone is really excited to see it return, and so keep an eye out on that for more details. And that completes my report for the committees. Appreciate everybody getting that information and passing it along to our citizens. Next on the agenda is we have the 2024-25 annual plan for Title 6B federal funding. And Dr. Shandor, could you please introduce this?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fairman. Ms. Tremaine Hopkins, our Director of Special Education, is going to present the 2024-2025 annual plan for Title 6B. Ms. Hopkins.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. Good evening, Madam Chair and school board members. Tonight, I'm here to share information about the Special Education Annual Plan. Federal regulations require local school divisions to submit an application and annual plan for providing special education and related services to students with disabilities. Annually, school divisions submit a grant application that outlines their use of funding. These grant funds are called Title 6B, Section 611, and Section 619. Additionally, annual plans are required to be reviewed by our school board in addition to our local SEAC. In developing the annual plan, my team and I collaborated with a variety of stakeholders. On March 6th and 7th, the team met with area private schools and homeschool families that reside within YCSD. During this time, we shared information about the special education process as well as available resources. As Mrs. Fairman said on March 19th, we also shared our annual plan proposal with our local SEAC and gathered feedback. So when applying for federal funds, school divisions must certify that they will comply with the several requirements outlined in the grant. Additionally, they must address any barriers to equitable access for students as it relates to special education. As shared here, there are no barriers to full participation of our students with disabilities, and YCSD strives to ensure equitable access for all students. Additional components of the grant include providing students who may be in jail with special education services. However, there are no local or regional jails within our county to provide students with those services. YCSD must also implement the annual plan that was prepared in 22-23. And we are not required to set aside the 15% for coordinated early intervening services, as we are not a school division that has been identified as having significant disproportionality as it relates to overrepresentation of students with disabilities or students with a particular impairment. Proportionate set-aside is a component of the grant that requires school divisions to set aside funds for students who are parentally placed. Parentally placed students are those who have been placed in a private school by their families or those who are homeschooled. The Virginia Department of Education uses a calculation tool to determine the required set-aside amount that YCSD must provide. The York County School Division is required to set aside $10,192 for parentally placed students. In previous years, these funds have been used to provide speech-language services for those students who may require it. The Title 6B grant also requires Virginia school divisions to maintain a maintenance of effort obligation, often referred to as MOE. MOE requires that YCSD spend at least the same amount or greater on special education services as that was spent the previous year. So as shared earlier, the grant funding is divided into two areas. Title 6B, Section 611 for ages 3 to 21, and Section 619 for ages 3 to 5. The chart before you illustrates our proposed request of funding for Section 611 in the amount of $2,581,981. As you can see, the majority of these funds are used for employee salary and benefits. Specific allocations of these funds are used for 18.4 special education teachers, 34.5 paraeducators, 2 oral communication facilitators, 1 interpreter, 1 speech pathologist, and 1 special education coach. These allocations do not represent YCSD special education staffing in totality. Rather, it is the specific positions that will be funded through this grant. Remaining funding for special education does come from our local budget. These positions do support preschool through 12th grade special education services. Restricted indirect costs represents the administrative costs related to the implementation of our programming, and this cost is calculated at 2.6% of the grant, totaling $70,795. This chart shows our request for funding for Section 619, which is our early childhood special education grant, in the amount of $54,566. As you can see, the majority of the funds are again used for employee salary and benefits, totaling $43,554 for 1.5 paraeducator. There are materials and supplies in the amount of $9,629 and restricted indirect costs accounting for $1,383. In closing, our next steps are to obtain consent from the school board as presented in your consent agenda tonight and submit the application to the Virginia Department of Education by May 10th as required. At this time, I'll take any questions you may have.
Board members, do you have any questions?
I do, actually. So what you're saying now, what's been allocated, what's been asked for allocation in Title 6B, Section 611 for $2.5 million, that's required by the law, but it's not enough for what we need, correct?
No, so typically that is not representative of the entire funding to support special education.
Is this enough money? Is this enough money to support what you guys need?
So it is to cover the positions that I've shared in those specific allocations, though our local budget does need to take a chunk of the positions to cover the salary and benefits.
Ms. Hopkins, is this grant renewable? I mean, is it one?
Yes, we apply annually.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
That's definitely helpful.
it is.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Ms. Hopkins.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins.
You're welcome.
Dr. Shandor, if you would please introduce our presenter for the School Board Member Alliance Policy Services.
The guys, our tech guys, Jean, are they going to pull her up?
Yeah,
There she is. Just like clockwork. All right, Ms. Vicki Manning, the School Board Member Alliance Director, will be joining us via Zoom to share information regarding policy services.
I have a question. Is there any way to get it on that screen?
Yep, I think you just ask
Hurrah,
and you
there
shall
we go.
receive.
Thank you, IT department. We definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Manning?
Good evening, honorable school board members and Dr. Shandor. My name is Vicki Manning, and I'm a director with the School Board Member Alliance. Thank you so much for inviting me to present this evening on the topic of SBMA policy and legislative services. First, I'd like to introduce you to our organization. SBMA is a 501c3 nonprofit that exists to help provide school board members with the necessary skills and expertise to govern and make informed decisions that positively impact their communities. Our policy team consists of individuals from diverse backgrounds, such as current and former school board members, former teachers, administrators and professors, attorneys, and even an expert in procurement. As a leader of the policy team, I personally have professional experience in both policy and contract development application. I also have a master's degree in law with a focus of study on legislation and regulation, constitutional law, regulatory compliance, and other courses of study relevant to policy. I believe having a team of individuals who bring different viewpoints to policy creation is very important. For example, having teachers on the team to provide a voice of how policy will impact the classroom is imperative. The SBMA annual policy and legislative packet is provided to our clients in May, and it includes sample policies related to new or updated legislation that has been adopted by the Virginia General Assembly, a summary of all new legislation related to education that impacts school boards, even if specific policy changes are not required. As I'm sure you know, often legislation requires changes by administration, but doesn't necessarily require a specific policy change. We will even provide that guidance to you so that you can provide this information to your staff. All sample policies that we provide will be approved by an attorney for legal sufficiency. In addition to the May packet, our team will monitor decisions made by the VDOE throughout the year. As you know, the legislature will often create laws that provide authority to the VDOE to create regulations that school boards must then follow. Throughout the year, we will monitor any regulations created by the VDOE, and we will notify our clients and provide guidance and sample policies if required by the regulation. We also have a team member who is designated to monitor federal legislation and regulation that could impact school boards. We will also provide guidance and necessary sample policies as needed throughout the year on federal legislation. In advance of this meeting, I provided your clerk with some handouts that include a small sample of our policy and legislative packet from last year. In total, the full packet that we provided last year detailed 36 new laws or legislative changes that impacted schools. We received very positive feedback from our members who received this policy and legislative packet. They said it was instrumental in helping them to do their jobs as school board members, to adopt policy and stay informed. Thank you for your interest in learning more about SBMA policy services, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this topic.
All right, board members, do you have any questions? Mrs. Goodwin.
Ms. Manning, I have a few questions. The first question I had is, who reviews and writes the sample policies at the SBMA?
So as I mentioned in my presentation, it's a team of individuals who have diverse backgrounds. Our team is made up of current and former school board members, teachers, administrators, procurement experts, attorneys, and myself, and I explained a little bit about my background. We all work together to come up with those sample policies.
Do you have to be a member of SBMA to utilize the policy services?
No, you would contract with us directly as a school board.
All right, thank you.
I just have a few.
Sure, Mr. Richardson.
So who vets the policies for the legal compliance? What attorney does that?
Right now, we have a couple of attorneys that we work with. It's Josh Hetzler and Daniel Rose.
Josh Hexler, you said?
Josh Hetzler and Daniel Rose.
If I could interject a question, do they have a background in policy law for doing, okay. Board members, any other?
Yeah, I still have more questions.
Sorry,
That was
Mr.
actually
Richardson.
my next question was their background in policy law. So our board attorney we've been trying to figure out what SBMA was and more information on it for a couple months now. She attempted to join. Is she allowed to join as a member to get these sample policies?
No, our organization is only for school board members.
Okay, so our board attorney who vets the policies that we get through VSBA or anywhere else wouldn't have access to them just through one of us?
Right, through you. You can certainly share that information with your attorney.
Is there any reason why she couldn't become a member or an attorney can't?
Right now, our membership is only open to school board members.
Okay. So when are there any trainings available to attorneys or board attorneys on policies or anything like VSBA has?
Not currently. We only offer training to school board members.
And how long have you been offering the policy services? It was just
last year, we gave the policy services to all of our members at no cost, but this is our first year that we are charging for them.
Okay, and you have a contract that you do to show that, right?
Yes, we will have a contract, yes.
Okay.
I had several constituents expressing that SBMA is represented as a partisan organization. Are you guys a partisan organization or?
No, we are not. We are a 501c3, and to date, we don't even lobby.
I had also a question regarding policy reviews in general. I know VSBA does not offer the service to review the policies on a local level, just on a federal. Do you guys do the reviews of the policies on a local level?
So we can offer some other policy some other services outside of our policy services contract, we recommend that school boards across the state actually have a policy review committee. Many of our members do that in their local school divisions, where you have school board members who sit on a committee along with your staff members to help create the policies and review the policies that you have. As you know, you're required as a school board to review your policies every 5 years. And so we recommend that you form a policy committee to do that. And SBMA is more than happy to sit down with you and help you to create that policy committee and equip you to do that on your own.
Thank you.
So you said that y'all don't lobby, you don't have a lobbyist, but Ms. Story has been a lobbyist in the past. Does she no longer is no longer a lobbyist?
She has not lobbied for SBMA, no.
Okay, no longer, she used to be,
Not for our organization.
Okay.
I have another question, Ms. Manning. It's my understanding under Chapter 7 of Virginia Code, from reading it, the board is charged with the responsibility really of writing the policy, drafting policy, approving policy, and so forth and so on. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we really emphasize the need for a policy review committee, because it is the role of the school board members to oversee any policy changes and approvals. And it's definitely a best practice for the board members to actually take charge of that and be responsible for it.
Thank you.
So you're saying Ms. Story doesn't lobby for SBMA?
SBMA.
But she does lobby for VPAT org, is that correct?
I can only speak to SBMA. I'm not sure who you referred to there.
Okay.
All right, thank you. But Mr. Schaefer, I think you've been waiting for a question.
I'm trying to jump in every now and then. Ms. Manning, you were on Virginia Beach School Board, right?
So I'm here in my capacity as an SBMA director. I'm not going to speak to any other organizations I'm affiliated with.
I was just asking if you were.
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you tell me what happened that you were taken off the committee of Governor Youngkin's?
Okay, again, I'm here only speaking as my role of SBMA.
Okay, so you aren't going to answer my question?
No, I'm not.
Okay. How many school boards do you represent?
I don't know the number of our membership right now. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay.
But I'm happy to follow up with you with that information.
Yeah, yes. I'd like to know, because out of 132 school boards, I'd like to know. Now, do you just do individual members? Is that what it is? Or do you do entire
Yes, we just have individual memberships, yes.
And so it's each one by itself? Okay.
Yes. But our policy services is by full school board.
Yeah, okay. And I know that you don't provide legal advice, and you do recommend discussing all policy adoptions with the school board attorney. So if that's the case, then why don't we just use the school board attorney and cut out the middleman?
So if you want your school board attorney to do all of the research on all of the new legislation that's coming from the General Assembly, the VDOE, the federal, the Congress, you could certainly do that, but that's something that we provide at, I believe, a very reasonable cost. So, but if you want to keep that all in-house, you certainly could do that.
I just want to interject on that, because actually I spent a good bit of time on Friday with Ms. Berry talking about that, because that was kind of one of my questions, like, why, if you have a school board attorney, why do you need that? But Ms. Berry has way more on her plate than she could reasonably do to sit and write policy, which is not her role. It's not her role to write policy.
Right.
It's actually would be our role to write and develop, and then to bring it to her for, to review for the legalities of
A
it.
school board member's role?
Look under Virginia 7, look under the code.
Well, that's why I'd like to have somewhere that does provide the legal advice for the policies, okay, to aid us in that, okay, which they don't do.
Mrs. Manning, do you have, you said you do have attorneys that you work with to help with the policy writing. Are school board members able to go through the SBMA and ask, you know, a particular question like that regarding a policy and, you know, why the attorneys that are working with you chose that?
Absolutely. If you have any questions about any policies that we've provided to you, as I said before, our attorneys do sign off on them for legal sufficiency. And so if you, as a school board that's contracted with us, have questions about those policies, you can absolutely reach out to us and we can get connected with our attorneys to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
So if, what happens if one of your sample policies that we've adopted as provided is challenged for legal sufficiency? Do y'all back us up in that? Any protections there?
So if you're referring to insurance protections, we don't currently offer that, but we would certainly be willing to talk with you about offering that in a contract. It would only be to the amount that is provided to you under your contract. But as far as I know, that's never been a concern before in the past and any policies that I'm familiar with, but it's something that we could definitely talk with you about in contract.
Okay. And just to clarify, the VPAP is an organization that manages or oversees or sees who lobbyists are in Virginia. And Ms. Sherry Story evidently said she was a lobbyist and she will lobby on education bills, finance bills, FOIA bills, that will impact K-12 education that goes on. But she's representing SBMA, so just so you're aware of that, evidently you weren't.
So VPAP draws from information from outside sources, so you may want to go look directly through the Secretary of Commonwealth to get the primary source.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Manning. It was very in-depth and greatly appreciate your time and coming tonight to present to us.
Great, thank you guys so much, and you guys are doing great work up there in York County. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right.
Can I just ask one other question of our attorney, what her opinion is between the two? Because that was the original plan, was for her to evaluate the two.
Well, this was the presentation. I think that would come during a time of
Discussion.
when it comes
That's
to
fine.
discussion after a motion.
That's fine.
Okay.
I can do it now or then, that's fine.
That's along those lines. Let's see. Next thing moving up is the, let's see, sorry. Just keeping track of all the different notes here. This is the public participation at board meetings, and I want you to know that tonight we will be following policy, and the policy is BDDH/KD. And what that says, let's see here, is the chair will impose, and I'm reading directly from the policy sheet, the chair will impose a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. The chair does not have the discretion to adjust that time. You, as individuals, may adjust that time if you decide that you want to use less than 3 minutes. That's up to you. But it's no more than 3 minutes, with no more than 30 minutes allocated for the comments of community members. And because we have so much to handle tonight, we are going to hold to the policy of 30 minutes.
Well, Ms. Chairman, I kind of object to that. Once again, I think that we ought to be able to hear all of the people that decided to come out on a Monday night to speak, okay? I remember a couple of years ago when you yourself was at that podium speaking on CRT when you were working for Walt Zaremba to make sure that we didn't have it in our classrooms, and which we didn't, but I had to sit through all that. I had to sit through all the COVID ones, both with mask and without mask. So I think it's doing a disservice and not being transparent at all to be able to listen to people.
Well, Mr. Schaefer, we're going to be following policy tonight, and we cannot change policy by a simple vote. It puts all of our policies at risk, so we're going to be following
We can take a
the
vote.
30 minutes.
Yeah, we can take a vote. We can do
Excuse
anything
me?
we
We
want
can
to.
do a motion.
Gentlemen, we're out of order.
No, we can take a motion, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Richardson, it is at the chair's discretion. It is that, it's in policy, it is at the chair's
The
discretion.
policy states that. So we will be going, what I will do is I will call
Wait,
the first
could I ask
10.
Ms. Berry a question?
Excuse me, you have not been recognized, Mr. Schaefer,
Well, I
and we need to be
understand that.
moving
I'm being
along.
bulldozed here. I don't really appreciate it.
No, we're following policy, Mr.
but-
Schaefer.
Madam Chair, I think he has a question, is all he has.
Yeah, I was just asking Ms. Berry, is this correct? We can't make a motion and vote on it to allow people to speak?
The time limit of 30 minutes, any extension of that, according to our policy, is at the discretion of the chair. However, there is time allotted at the end of the meeting for any of those who did not have an opportunity to talk during that 30 minutes to talk at the end of the meeting.
Actually, Mrs. Berry, what the policy says is community members who do not sign up to address the board prior to the beginning of the business portion of the meeting will be given an opportunity to speak at the end of the board's meeting agenda. So those people who have not signed up, who maybe have come in late after the business meeting started, you will be given an opportunity. And it also says, such community member comments made at the end of the board meeting shall be subject to the same conditions and limitations listed herein. In other words, 3 minutes maximum per speaker and 30 minutes maximum for that.
So what you're saying in that is that you're hoping people are going to leave before the end of the meeting, that way they won't get to talk?
No, not at all.
Then why don't we let them talk now?
No, that's, Ms.
I mean, we did 50-something people last time. And it
Mr.
was
Schaefer,
fine.
we need to move on. The chair
Well, no,
has
no,
made
I
the
mean,
decision
I'd like
according
an
to the
answer to my
policy.
question.
We will be lining up according to how these people have signed in. Number 1, Gary Porter. 2, Tammy Deerberger. 3, Sandra Tuminello. 4, Albert Tuminello. 5, Daniil Francis. And if I mispronounce your names, I sincerely apologize. Number 6, Pam Pouchot. Number 7, Jennifer Register. Number 8, Alan Kennedy. Number 9, Patty Money. And number 10, I think it's Carrie Chi. We'll do that first, and I will be setting the timer. So once again, if speakers choose to take less than 3 minutes, that will allow more people to speak. Mr. Porter. Oh, also, excuse me, I need to say this also, my mistake. Upon recognition by the chair, speakers will clearly state their names and York County election district or area of residence prior to commencing your remarks. Speakers will direct their remarks to the York County School Board. The chair is responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and has discretionary authority to rule a speaker out of order. Mr. Porter, you may begin. Your time will begin as soon as you do your introduction and state where you are, where you live.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Gary Porter. I live in District 2. I was personally maligned during the last school board meeting, and I'm compelled to respond. I am not a member of a militia and have never knowingly been part of one. I'm frankly getting tired of being falsely branded this way. Within 12 hours of being falsely branded a militia member at the last meeting, YCSD rejected my application for substitute teaching despite stellar credentials. I've consulted with an attorney. He agrees I have a cause of action, and I am prepared to take legal action against any individual who verbally or through media posts attempts to connect me to a militia. But I'm still an educator at heart, and so let's learn something tonight. Who is part of a militia? Every male teacher in YCSD and every male staff member younger than 45, every male student age 17 or above, every male in this room, for that matter, within that age range, is a member of the U.S. National Militia, an organization created by Congress in 1903 and detailed in Title 10, Section 246 of the U.S. Code. Every one of YCSD's teachers, staff, and students, male or female, between the ages of 16 and 55, is a member of the Virginia Militia, as are all the citizens in this room within that age range. Title 44 of the Code of Virginia has the details. These are facts, not conjecture, not my opinion. With this knowledge, does the word militia become a little less foreboding, a little less threatening? I hope so. Both of these organizations, the national and state militias, harken back to a time when the militia was comprised of the whole of the people. When danger arose, the people came together and dealt with the problem. Virginians in the age range I mentioned who are not members of the National Guard of Virginia or the Virginia Defense Force, yes, that's another militia, are automatically members of the unorganized militia. The governor of Virginia may at any time call up the unorganized militia to, quote, execute the law, suppress riots or insurrections, repel invasion, or aid in any form of disaster where the lives or property of citizens may be imperiled, unquote. So a question naturally arises. If you are ever called up for militia duty, what skill sets will you have to offer? Will you respond with, sorry, I feel like I'm coming down with COVID? Or this is the training I've had, these are the skills I have, where do I report? The next question that naturally follows is, where do you expect to obtain that training? Wouldn't it be nice if we had an organization that could just do just that? In case you've just returned from Mars, you should probably know that this nation is more divided than at any time in the last 165 years. Oh, and for the record, I am not a member of the New England Patriots football team, despite my wearing a shirt that bears that logo.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Number 2, Tammy Deerberger.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school board, and Dr. Shandor. I live in District 2. I attended the last school board meeting on March 11th, and I listened to the Virginia School Board Association's presentation about membership and services they offer. I was disturbed by Mr. Richardson's unusually emotional reaction after the presentation. He tried to force the board to take an immediate vote on membership. The chair explained there was another company yet to present, and that an immediate vote was not appropriate because, 1, it was a work session, and 2, the other company should be afforded the opportunity to present their membership package. Mr. Richardson's behavior, not only to the chair, but to suggest depriving the School Board Member Alliance of the opportunity to even present, made me very uncomfortable. Mr. Richardson's role as a board of director within the Virginia School Board Association represents a conflict of interest and precludes him from taking a legitimate vote. By not recusing himself, Mr. Richardson will be voting to financially advantage a company in which he holds a personal stake and for whom he is serving as a representative and promoting in a statewide effort. I'm not confident that Mr. Richardson is capable of hearing the School Board Member Alliance presentation that we had tonight with an open mind. For these reasons, I urge Mr. Richardson to recluse himself from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, Sandra Tuminello.
School Board, Dr. Shandor, I'm Sandra Tuminello from District 4. I want to express my frustration and disappointment over the treatment of the newly elected school board members. More importantly, I need to address the misinformation and rumors that continue to be spread that do great harm to good people and patriotic citizens. To begin with, there is no militia in Yorktown, although according to the Code of Virginia, all citizens, all of us, well, I'm too old, are in the militia automatically, and to promote community support and improve communication between all of the clubs and all the organizations. Bob Herget, a friend of ours, talked with numerous churches, any churches, organizations that would let him come in, and individuals, about organizing such a group, the York County Poquoson Community Missions Group, to give residents, to give all of us accurate information and support in time of need, which we could certainly face in the near future. None of the school boards were involved in any of these discussions about this militia. It seems that after attempting to have the school board election recalled, someone contacted Wavy 10, giving the reporter, Mr. Reese, false information about Kim Goodwin and Linda Fairman being a part of the militia, and that Ms. Fairman had sent the local militia camera crew to film the Family Life Parents meeting. Mr. Richardson, I have your quote saying they were part of a militia group. They were part of it. It's all come out on video. I've watched it. I saw it all. And they said, oh, we were sent here by Ms. Fairman, and they've got cameras up. That's not true. I'm the only person who was at that meeting with my little phone out attempting to video. I only got a picture of my purse because I didn't even really know how to operate my phone. And that was for my own good and for my friends who were not able to attend. At this meeting where the information were presented, there were very few parents in attendance because it's inconvenient for parents to come out at night to get that type of information. You suggested that the board needs mediation. And as a trained mediator, I can assure you the first step is honesty and open communication and a real desire to solve the problems. We have 3 inexperienced board members who bring great knowledge and wisdom to the group, and it seems that you might be able to do more to get them established and feel welcome. And I just ask you to all ask yourselves, what can you do to really make this school board work and for y'all not fight like cats and dogs looking ridiculous to the whole community? It's an embarrassment, and you need to act like adults and behave with each other.
Thank you, Mrs. Tuminello. Number 4, Albert Tuminello.
My name is Albert Tuminello, and I live in District 4. And I should start out by saying thank you because you walked right into my presentation. Because my purpose here tonight is to recall to you the events of your work session on March the 11th and other YCSD meetings conducted here in this room. Simply stated, I was appalled at the demeanor and the actions of you, Mr. Richardson, Mr. Schaefer, and Dr. Shandor, and you exhibited those same actions tonight at this meeting. I have sat on many and numerous boards in my lifetime and have chaired some of those same boards. I understand the need for protocols, such as Robert's Rules of Order, and the necessity for conducting orderly meetings. Otherwise, chaos follows, which is exactly what happened on the night of March the 11th and tonight. Mrs. Fairman was trying to keep the meeting in order, and you were trying to overtalk her and then accuse her of cutting you off. But all she was doing was maintaining the order that you agreed to the protocols of your demand of Robert's Rules of Order. And you know those rules, and better is expected, and my wife just exhibited that to you. And look at your actions and what you're teaching the teachers, teaching us. Look around. You're teaching how to protest. I guess that's good. Even the young man here obviously was taught his First Amendment rights as he held up his sign to fire Miss Fairman. He was silent, and that was good, and it's good that you teach that. However, much more is expected. It's time you put away your personal biases and focus on academics and what's good for all the students of York County. And only then, and then you will be able to stand and hear the words we all want to hear at the end. Well done, good and faithful servant. Matthew 25:23. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5, Danielle Francis.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Francis, District 2. My child, niece, and nephew are York County students. At the last board meeting, literacy program decisions were postponed. A worthy reason could have been to examine evidence-based research on literacy outcomes to select the best one. However, Ms. Fairman stated she needed to screen it to assure it had no DEI. I have since requested information on the DEI screening process to include the factor analysis, criteria checklist, or rubric guidelines that will be utilized. My request remains ignored. Specifically, the community deserves to know the DEI criteria so we can prepare for impact to our students with disabilities, our non-white students, and our non-Christian students. So, number one, are you seeking to reject content that includes disabilities? Does that include people using medical equipment or wheelchairs? Number two, will you reject content including neurodivergent learners? Number three, what about bilingual or non-English speakers? What about people using communication devices or sign language? Number four, what about non-Christian families and holidays? Number five, what about stories referencing ethnicity or skin tone for character development? Number six, what about stories with single-parent families, children being raised by grandparents, or foster adopt homes, or other non-traditional homes? 7, what cultures specifically will you be rejecting due to your perception of DEI? Will military culture be rejected? Will disability and deaf culture be rejected? What about African American culture? Hispanic, Asian, Inuit, Pacific Islander, or indigenous cultures? Will you be rejecting them? Please know, students with disabilities and their families fight tirelessly for equity and inclusion in every single part of our life. These students often experience disproportionate prejudice in our community due to ill-informed perceptions of others. So parents of students and disabilities are particularly alarmed and concerned that you have an inaccurate understanding of DEI and its importance and critical relevance to education. The disability community cannot allow decades of human rights advocacy to be erased. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is the best hope for all of our students. Please make the DEI assessment tool public immediately.
Thank you. Number 6, Pam Pouchot.
My name is Pam Pouchot. I reside in District 4. In the 1980s, citizens' comments were given 5 minutes each and no limit to the number of speakers. The board knew that they had a responsibility to listen to the citizens. In the 1990s, the time limit was revoked, and the board found it was rare anyone spoke more than 4 minutes. Somewhere in the ensuing years, the 3-minute time limit was invoked. Later, the number of speakers was limited to 10 in the 30 minutes allocated. Citizens' concerns no longer have value to this board. Your personal time is more important than the potential inconvenience of one late night a month. I ask you the 30-minute limit be removed and allow all the people you serve to have a voice. Next, concerning your new invocation policy, you state, quote, whereas legislative prayer has long been understood as compatible with the Establishment Clause. Virginia school boards have no legislative authority. You do not make laws or ordinances. Under the invocation procedures, number 6, states the invocation should be directed to the school board and not the members of the audience. Since this is strictly for the school board, please don't waste our time. Do this prior to the meeting in the room behind the dais. In the last meeting, the minister invoked Jesus. Today we were asked to pray, which goes against your rules of secularism, and not one of you apologized or assured us that it would not be repeated. If you insist on some public demonstration of faith, a moment of silence would solve all these problems and make no one uncomfortable. Next, the school board allows firearms at school board meetings, even though this room is under the exclusive use of the school division during the times of these meetings. And 18.2-308.1 clearly states under these circumstances weapons are illegal. If you don't like that statute, 22.1-131.1 allows you to lease this room or building from the supervisors for, let's say, $1 a year for your predetermined meeting dates and declare them a gun-free zone. Why, especially considering students, teachers, administrators, and at times irate citizens attend these meetings, does this board have little concern for their safety? The statutes give you permission to ban firearms. If you choose not to do so, please explain why our lives do not matter in an era of rampant gun violence. Otherwise, please contact the Board of Supervisors and get that lease finalized. It is the easy access to firearms in the heat of anger or mental distress that result in people dying. It can happen here, it can happen anywhere. Lastly, I do not support the board allowing a far right-wing organization to create policy for our schools. Their ultimate goal is to demolish public schools and go back to a time where only wealthy white males were given a Christian education. What do you find so objectionable about the VSBA that makes you want to change organizations? And I would like to speak to an issue that the gentleman spoke to about the unorganized militia. Women are included because they screwed up and forgot to mention it was males only.
Number 7, Jennifer Register.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jen Register, and I did prepare a speech, but honestly, in being here and waiting in line and hearing people waste the 30 minutes that were valuable for parents and people who really have a vested interest. I am here not to win a political battle. This is not politics for me. This is my children. I have 2 children, a kindergartner. We're in it for the long haul. She's got quite a stretch. This is not politics. You should listen to parents. The first 4 speakers that we had have no affiliation to the county, to the school division. Why were they here? Like, travel. I mean, oh my God, this is not the Board of Supervisors. I am here to secure the best future for my children. I would rather be home with my children right now. I also know there are a lot of parents who agree with me, a lot of parents that are here and want to speak, a lot of parents that want to speak and are not going to get the opportunity. So I feel quite the burden that I have to be here speaking for all of those parents. We also have a number of members here from the NAACP who also, I believe, wanted to speak as well, and they are not going to get that opportunity. So those 10 of us that are here in line, we have quite the duty. When it comes to your votes tonight, I believe the VSBA is the best option for our school board. The SBMA, regardless of what they said during that presentation, I went on their website last week and it said they were a conservative organization. I went on it tonight and it says it's nonpartisan. That is extremely convenient. They are extremely political, biased, and brand new. The founders have made inappropriate racial comments when they were serving on their respective school boards. This is not a positive direction for our school system. It is a political one. Therefore, please do not vote to go the direction of the SBMA. I also believe that the literacy program that was selected is a strong one, and I 100% champion a literacy program that mentions DEI in the description. Please do the important homework and look at the literacy test scores across all our elementary schools. Then look at them by race. Even our elementary schools receiving 10 out of 10 for equity have as much as a 9% difference between white students and black students for reading test scores. At my own children's school, the difference is 28%. This is not acceptable, and choosing the right literacy program can make a big difference and is the right direction. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Number 8, Mr. Alan Kennedy. Number 8, Alan Kennedy. All right, I'll allow this, we're using up time. Who is?
My name is Patty Money.
Okay, you're number 9, thank you.
Yes. I am a resident of District 5, and I have 2 students in YCSD. For my entire life, I have had a huge appreciation for teachers. My maternal grandmother taught kindergarten in New York City until her retirement. I, even at 47 years old, can remember the name of every teacher I had from kindergarten to 12th grade. I can also remember the names of all of my children's teachers. In 2020, we moved to York County, like so many people, because of the schools. During the pandemic, I was blown away by the teachers, by the level of patience and dedication and creativity that my children's teachers showed. They really just loved us and massaged us through that difficult time. I was on a leave of absence from my job at that time, so when I heard about the great shortage in substitute teaching, I decided to go ahead and become a substitute teacher in order to help and support the teachers. For the past 2 years, I have been at Grafton Middle School, where I have served alternately, interchangeably, as either the building sub or as a long-term sub. I currently get to teach as a long-term sub in CTE. In those 2 years, my admiration of teachers has grown exponentially. Daily, I am blown away by the skill, creativity, dedication, and compassion demonstrated by my colleagues and my administrators. For that very reason, I am concerned about the numerous insinuations and even blatant accusations that teachers are indoctrinating students. I am incensed by any comments casting negative aspersions on teachers. Teachers are my heroes, both the ones who teach my children at TMS and THS and the ones I work with at GMS. Yet in our current political climate, teachers are feeling threatened and are tentative to speak the truth out of fear of retaliation. The decision of the board chair and vice chair to remove themselves from Let's Talk eliminates the opportunity for teachers to share their concerns and fears in a safe place, free of retribution. So board members, I ask you, what will you do to ensure that your teachers are supported,
Thank you, Mrs. Money.
respected, and have a safe place?
Carrie Chi.
Good evening, board members. I'm Carrie Chi. I reside in District 4, and I too, like Jen Register, have little kids at home, and I would much rather be there tonight than have to come to repeated board meetings to express these kind of concerns. And I do think it is quite a disservice to all the parents who have come here to speak and have their chance to talk. You know, again, it's a long night for us, right? Many of us got here, early, just coming right after work so that we would have a chance to speak tonight. It's because we want our voices heard. And, there was another speaker that was talking about the Family Life Education event being an inconvenient time for parents. I would venture to say most of the parents in this room are working professionals. And so this is the only opportunity we have to engage with the school. So I just wanted to put that out there. But what I am really concerned about is this possible switch to the SMBA. I did write Ms. Goodwin and Ms. Payavek earlier this week and was, pleased to have discourse with them on it. But the SBMA, it was just formed in December 2022, and on the Virginia State Corporation Commission, their registered business address is their treasurer's home out of Forest, Virginia. And to me, that lends some credibility as to the actual function of this organization. Jen Register mentioned it earlier, but as of a couple days ago, their website touted themselves as a conservative organization, absolutely partisan. And then as of today, they've now cleaned it up to say it's nonpartisan. But, we're not fools here. We understand what's going on. Sherry's story, she had strong backlash in Suffolk schools when she was on their board due to racist remarks she made on social media. And additionally, her former colleagues allege she was known to have acted in a racist manner to African American students and people of color in school leadership. And this is the same kind of story we see even with Vicki Manning, who came to speak this evening and who claims that since she has a master's degree in law, she has just as much authority to review policies as a lawyer. I don't buy that for a minute. Frankly, it'd be better for YCSD to have neither an affiliation with either organization versus making a switch to the SMBA. The concern, too, with the SBMA is that it's affiliated with the Noah Webster Educational Foundation, which in turn is affiliated with Project 1925, which is a real scary program if you look into it. Why do we need this political divisiveness in the school board? Can we please try to come to some moderate ground? So I wish the school board would put aside politics on either side, right? And just function as a moderate organization focusing on evidence-based support for our schools. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Allen Kennedy.
Good evening. I'm Alan Kennedy, and I live in District 1 at 116 Steg Street. I'm here because the vice chair said on social media, I can't say if slaves were happy or not because I was not there. She later then said asked, can you provide me the research that you have that proves that they were not happy? And she references the leftist 1619 project that is based on false facts. So tonight I have copies of the 1619 project for each of you because I want you to actually see the facts. And Ms. Goodwin, I invite you to tell me if there are any false facts. I would note that after our last meeting, Ms. Goodwin responded to a member of our community admitting that she made these comments, but her defense was that it was made over 3 years ago and was a response to another person on the thread about claiming to know the state of mind of a person. Well, I'd invite you to turn to page 104 to understand whether slaves were happy, Ms. Goodwin. I invite you to turn to page 104, which says that it talks about slave patrols and says that by the mid-18th century, Virginia had slave patrols and turned them into a militarized law enforcement organization that was primarily engaged in watching, catching, or beating black slaves, and that patrollers enforced slave codes and routinely broke into the homes of enslaved people, aggressively searching them in their quarters and subjecting women to sexual violence. Ms. Goodwin, are you ready to apologize for your comments to our community? Ms. Goodwin, will you renounce your comments where you said that I can't say if slaves were happy or not because I was not there? I would yield the remainder of my time to Mr. Andre Taylor, a historian, and I would note that you are denying the opportunity to speak to Mrs. Barbara Haywood, who was number 11 on the list. I stood out there for 2 hours, and there are 18 people who waited and waited for the opportunity to speak, and you are denying them the opportunity to speak, Ms. Fairman.
Good evening, Vice Chair Goodman. My name is Andre Taylor. I'm a parent of 2 students at Seaford Elementary in your district. I'm also the African-American historian of history and culture at Colonial Williamsburg. And I would also like to say that you were asking if somebody had evidence of slaves being unhappy. The Library of Congress has something that's called the WPA slave narratives that have existed since the early 19th century into the 20th century. So if you would like to learn more about if slaves were happy or not, I would also like for you to read that. And if you have any questions, I will give you my information. We can have a talk, and I can sit down with you and talk to you about the elements of slavery that existed in Virginia that I am very well versed in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I close the public participation for comments of citizens. At this time, we will go to matters by board members, and I guess we'll follow the same thing of going by districts. Mr. Schaefer, District 1.
First, I'd like to say, everyone that's out there that wants to speak, please stay, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see. Well, I had received an email, as the rest of us did, saying that if we didn't speak up against those quotes and those ideas, that we were condoning it as a board. So I want to go on record of saying that Kim, I denounce those sayings. I think you ought to apologize. I understand that you renounced them, but I think you probably should apologize for those statements. I'd like to ask a couple questions of my fellow board members. Zoran, you own a business, correct? Okay, if you had employees or associates that did not answer emails, what would you do?
Would have a conversation with them.
And if they still didn't?
I would have corrective measures.
Corrective measures up to and including what?
Depends on offense.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they blatantly just didn't do it, okay? Or didn't answer phone calls, okay? It was, as far as emails go, we as a board need to answer the emails. There's only been one email that I have received in 5 years that I did not respond to that was to me. And that was from Delois Stallman that questioned my integrity in it. And I'm sorry, I don't have the time to deal with anyone that's questioning my integrity. Whereas I'm 65 years old, I've got a professional history, a personal history, a church history. No, I don't need to listen to someone questioning my integrity. And board chair and assistant chair need to answer emails. The board chair should be the one to answer emails that are to the whole board, okay? When we don't, that means that we're not listening to people. It means that we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing, taking care of our constituents. Now, it might be those that don't agree with you. I had plenty, believe me, during COVID with masks, okay? I was even accused sometimes of trying to kill our kids because I wanted to take masks away from them. But I still answered it in the spirit of being a public servant, and I tried to do it with love. I didn't try and do it to berate people or anything else. And with you guys getting off of Let's Talk, how does that improve the transparency? Ms. Chi brought up about that teachers were afraid. I said that in the second work session that we had. The reason that teachers don't is because they're afraid of being doxxed or retaliated against. Well, Let's Talk gives them the avenue to be able to share things anonymously. And that's what they really ought to do. Of course, why did it have to get to that point? Why do they feel that way? Why has the rhetoric been so terrible that they don't feel comfortable coming up to you? I mean, I go to a school, I have no problems. I know most of the teachers there for 20, 25 years. They taught all my kids. Okay, I can go in there and they'll tell me what's going on. I don't have any problems. After I say hello, I get it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. All right. The Constitution that you swore to uphold back on January 8th, it died tonight in this room by denying the rights of people to speak. And having a punitive measure of making them wait until after the whole meeting, it is punitive, and it's not very becoming of a school board chair. And I guess that means that King George was not the only tyrant that's been in these colonies. And Vicki Manning's quote, just to let you know, was the reason why she's not running for school board for a third term in Virginia Beach is that continuing to educate South Americans is not sustainable. That was her quote. Sherry had similar problems over in Suffolk. And Suffolk is not what you would call a real liberal area. And she was extreme even for them. But in closing, I would say that thank goodness that I have some of the best schools in York County. Thank goodness I have the best teachers in York County and in the state. We are still number 3. I don't want us to slip. I want to keep our teachers, students, and parents foremost in in what we do. That's what's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Excuse me. District 2, Mr. Payovich. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat so Mr. Payovich can speak. And I believe Mr. Payovich has, okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
So I would like to just say thank you, everybody that came here tonight. And if you are willing to speak later on, I'm willing to listen. So thank you for that. I'm going to start off, first of all, just kind of giving a brief update of what I've been doing as a board member representing my district and my students, my teachers throughout the time. So I missed our last meeting, so I apologize for that. But it was a school, actually, the business trip that I had scheduled in September of last year. Anyhow, so one of the first events that I attended was the EL Family Open House at Grafton Middle School. It was for the student with disabilities. Great organization, great support by the community and the staff. I thoroughly enjoyed it, meeting all the teachers and all the support staff, even students coming in. It was just heartwarming, so I was appreciative, opportunity to be there as well. I had meetings on a budget and rezoning with Dr. Carol and Dr. Shandor. We visit, I had GSH Grafton High School planning schedule night for the high schoolers. Great turnout again, so many students, great programs. I do have 3 boys that are going to go, actually one of them is already in high school, but 2 of them are coming up next year. So they're very interested in some of the programs that's going to be offered. I did visit Grafton Middle School and Grafton High School. So Dr. Shandor, thank you for that opportunity. It was such a great and pleasurable experience. Just meeting the teachers that they're working with the students, with the programs that they're providing and support. It was just amazing. Next, I visit a job jamboree at the Grafton High School. That was one of the events that Dr. Wright, he actually put together with his staff. It was just amazing to see how many great teachers wants to work for YCSD, and it's just it's a great pleasure to be part of that. After that, I visited YRA, which is York River Academy. Just met a few of the students, see their progress in their studies. I got very, very impressed with how much they are dedicated to their success and education. So it was just amazing. Also met with our county supervisor, Sheila Knoll, for my district. Me and her, we agreed that we're going to be meeting at least once a quarter, if not more often, just kind of to discuss our needs as a school board, as school divisions. So she is encouraged that we are also trying to work on academics for our children in our future. I had a one-on-one Dr. Shandor. We discussed various topics related to the education and academics achievements of our children. I attended the Future Chef competition at York High School that we were honored to be invited as the judges. Just seeing those kids pouring their hearts and cooking their middle schoolers, and they prepared the food from scratch in the back kitchen. Yeah. They were a little younger. Elementary, I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. Elementary. Even better. It's no. But delicious food. I really enjoyed it. Then I attended Grafton Middle School, Virginia Lottery winner announcement. So one of our students from Grafton Middle School, she submitted her artwork that's going to be featured with the Virginia Lottery postcard for the teacher appreciation. Is it a week or it's a week, right? Yes. So it's for a week, and she won a grant for the art projects for art program in our school. It's just a tremendous artwork, and you guys are going to see it pretty soon coming in. I attended the open house at the Grafton Middle School for students with disabilities. Again, that was just mind-blowing experience with all of our schools providing special ed programs, presenting to all of us. And I got to talk to every single one of them. Todd, he brought his children. I met them, just amazing, amazing kids. We need it, and I really believe that like special ed kids, I'm coming from different country where the kids that are with special needs don't get treated this way. And it kind of like, makes me happy that I'm here, that we do have the support of the community, parents, teachers to provide such a thing. In my country, it's unfortunate that kids like that end up falling onto the parents' burden for the rest of their life. And whenever parents are gone, system's not there in place to catch them. And it's very, very heartening. But like I said, again, I'm so happy to be here, that America as society, that you guys organize as a school board, as a community to support those kids. It just makes my heart really, really happy. And finally, just kind of like, the star banquet for our teachers. We recognize the teachers of the year. As Mr. Marsh said, and actually that's Patty Manny, we do have best teachers. That's what makes our schools the best in the region. And I would like to actually ask our tech support if they can put some of the slides that I provided that I would like to teach. So I don't know. Yeah. Can we go to the SOL results, reading results? There you go. So pass rates. I'm a parent. The reason why I ran for the board is like one of those signs they're saying over there, no politics. Like, no, I did not want politics in our schools. And I want to stand by that. Our children deserve better education. They deserve really good education. We have the best teachers, in my opinion, in the state and beyond. Right now, how many of you guys know that we are number 3 in the state? By show of hands. How many of you guys know that we're number 1 in this region? Exactly. We are, and that's a fact. But as you can see behind me right here, these are the results from the Virginia and the York County district. We are in decline as a society. And this is why I decided to run as a parent. Because I noticed with my children, even though they're straight-A students, their education is slipping. When I got elected, I talked to Dr. Skinner, and I'm so happy to tell you that her and her staff are working tirelessly to correct this thing. And with the right help of our community, including the board, we can change this, and we will change it. Because this is my mission. Because my children are in here, just like yours as a parent. It's like we need to get this academic improvement. They're not sitting on their hands. It's at their forefront, and they're fighting for it. But there's a bigger problem. If you see it, those blue lines, that's the state of Virginia. We are below 70% as Virginians. Change happened in 2012. When I talked to some of my teachers, they told me, it's like, no, that's when the SOL testing for 5th graders stopped, and that's when they start seeing decline. This is not something that we here can change, but this is on the state level. So we have to be a voice, united voice, for our children to promote this change on a state level in Virginia Department of Education. And that's why I'm here, want to ask you for the support. Some of our results, like, no, I'm not going to go into the other ones, but this is what I'm seeing with my children. And I know that you do the same thing. They work hard. We provide them with the tools, we provide them with the support, and they're still not performing up to standards that we used to have. And that's what we have to change to bring them up. So again, thank you for all of the parents being here, listening to me. I'm going to give you opportunity to talk to me as well, because this is what's important, and this is why I am here, and to make this academic improvement for our children. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pyavich. District 3, Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you, Ms. Fairman. In addition to what Mr. Pyavich said, I also want to say that if you're going to stick around at the end to voice your comments, that, again, we are here, we will listen to them. I'm just going to go into what I've been doing, the March activities, just to give you an idea what's going on or what I've been involved in. Of course, we had the wonderful Future Chef competition at York High School. I was honored to be able to serve as a judge. Of course, I know we have very talented youth, but I was really introduced to their talent in culinary arts, and I think we have some really a budding future for many of our elementary students in that culinary arts, if that's what they want to pursue. When I had to decide on, the best food or what my decision was, it was pretty difficult because everybody did such a really good job. I also attended a joint chair, vice chair meeting with our Board of Supervisors to set up agenda items for our next meeting with when the two boards get together. And this is really important, as we'll talk about later when we get to rezoning, because any way you really slice it, most of our schools are going to be close to capacity. We'll have a little bit of margin, but not a whole lot. So you have to work closely with your Board of Supervisors because they're the ones that approve building in the county. So it's really important that we have that partnership. So we've had our initial meeting, we set those agenda items, and we'll be meeting as complete boards in the future. One of the highlights of my month was being able to read to York Elementary School. I read to 3 kindergarten classes, and that was just a wonderful experience. And I thank Dr. Bolam and her team for welcoming into their school and letting me do that. I also had a meeting and a tour of our division's transportation department and was able to talk with our transportation director, Mr. Riddick, as well as Dr. Carroll, about efforts to attract and retain our bus drivers, as well as what is being done to help with communication when there are bus issues. I've heard many people say that, we've got to improve things with transportation. There's always going to be kinks, but I will say after touring and meeting everybody and talking with Mr. Riddick, that I can tell you that it's on a positive trajectory. They are looking for better compensation for our bus drivers. Compared to other divisions, we're not doing too bad as far as the number of bus drivers that we're short. One of the biggest things that exists is when somebody gets sick, how do you fill that slot? And while you always have a pool of people to jump in, most of the time for your teachers, like a substitute, you don't have that necessarily for bus drivers, so then that presents a little bit of a juggling issue. But they're very vigilant of it, and they're continuing to work on it, and that's something that I hold near and dear and will continue to follow up and keep you apprised of what's going on there. But I do want to say that I think they're doing a really good job, and they recognize that there's work to do. The last thing is that I was able to attend the Star Banquet as well, where we recognize our outstanding teachers, paraeducators, and support staff. It was a beautiful event, and I was really happy to see that we were celebrating these teachers. I echo that we do have great teachers in York County. I was fortunate enough to work in the schools years ago and worked with a lot of great teachers then, and I know we still have a lot of great teachers now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 4, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. So on March the 7th, I attended a spring networking forum in Chester, Virginia. It was a great event and nice to network with other school board members by attending that. The children that were in that culinary program prepared the meal for the event, and it was at Brighton Community College. Well, it turns out we were able to get a tour of the college and learn that they help facilitate the dual enrollment for students in that area there, just much like we do here with our Peninsula Community College. The next day, I was able to visit some schools in the York Zone with the superintendent. March 12th, I had a meeting with Stephen Rohn, our District 4 Board of Supervisors. I meet with him monthly. On March the 14th, I attended a presentation of the documentary Right to Read that was held at the VSBA office in Charlottesville. The event was also attended by the state superintendent, who was Dr. Coons. She was present. And we spoke about the new literacy initiative in Virginia to help more children learn to read that's science-based. I did have a discussion with her, and the next day with Deputy Secretary Guidera from the governor's office. The literacy program is great. It's a great program, science-based, and it'll help more children read, but it does add more work to our teachers. So I asked if they would consider looking at past initiatives, and if there was anything that they could take a look at possibly taking off of our teachers' plates, as the state is continually adding requirements, which adds to their workload, and they both agreed they would be looking at that. The next day, I attended the VSBA Board of Directors meeting, also in Charlottesville, and then on the 21st, I attended the STARS banquet with the other board members here. And over the last several weeks, I've been planning the Tidewater Regional Forum Art Contest. That's one of my duties as the Tidewater Regional Chair. The event will be held April 25th at L.C. Norcom High School in Portsmouth. So I do want to add that there's no conflict of interest with me being on the VSBA Board of Directors. I don't get any pay for that. It's purely volunteer, so there's no conflict of interest whatsoever. I just want to say that at our first meeting that we had with this board, new board organizational meeting, the discussion was about looking at SBMA. And I had an open mind. I was willing to look. I knew nothing about SBMA, School Board Member Alliance. It was the understanding then that our board attorney would compare the two and would make a recommendation, but since then it's morphed into now we're getting presentations, we're going to make a decision, we're going to vote, which is fine. But I really didn't know anything about them at the time, and through my research I've learned a lot more, and today finally I got some paperwork from SBMA that talks about their policy services. The first time I saw it was today. And I probably got it about the same time they updated their website, that they're nonpartisan. But in any event, I just want to say that I also have been asked whether I agree or support Ms. Goodwin's social media statements or posts, and I, for one, do not. I'm disturbed by the recent allegations, or those allegations in the past about her. I know of one teacher that's leaving because of the toxic environment that we have here in York County now, and that concerns me greatly. Ms. Goodwin's public stances in these areas have not only hurt the reputation of the school board, but have tarnished the good name of YCSD and overshadowed the achievement of our students and staff. Basically, to be clear, I'm denouncing this behavior of a few of my fellow board members regarding their social media activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat so we can move on. We have a lot of business to cover. I have for District 5, and I also, with Mr. Pajovich, attended the recent open house for special education students and their families. It was held at Grafton Middle School's atrium, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was a wonderful evening highlighting the different services provided not only by YCSD, but also by our community. There were lots of hands-on activities and resource information packet for parents to take home with them and peruse and see what they needed for their particular family's needs and desires and what they want for their students. It was fabulous. Let's see, I had a wonderful time meeting a lot of the students as well as their parents. It was wonderful talking with them and seeing them interact with the different presenters. And the presenters, they went above and beyond for their different booths and what they were putting out there to share with the families. They also shared it with me. They took great patience in explaining the different parts and why they were doing things a certain way. And I really appreciated their time in explaining things, not only to me, but to everyone there. I learned a lot. It was delightful and a fun event. And I encourage all of our citizens, you know, the next time you hear it's happening, go take a look. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's a great event for inclusion, so we can see what's going on for all of our different communities within YCSD. In addition, last weekend, I too was able to attend the Star Awards banquet and was very honored to be asked to give a welcoming remarks, and I appreciate that. recognizing these amazing teachers, the paraeducators, and the staff. They were selected as being outstanding in their areas, and I know they're not the only ones, because when they get selected, I know how difficult it is to select just one for each of the schools. And in addition to the individual school winners, they also recognize the district-wide winners, as well as the superintendent awards. It was just a wonderful evening. It made me very pleased to be here in York County and to actually see some people that I used to teach with when I taught here, that some of them received the awards. And so it was wonderful. And I'd like to say a special congratulations to all those who received a Star Award this year. It was truly, truly amazing to see you, and you are just amazing role models for the rest of our community. I really appreciate that. I also want to say a sincere thank you to the parents and taxpayers who've reached out to me regarding the elementary school rezoning plans. Everybody has different opinions about what they are, and everybody who was commenting on that, they were very detailed in why they liked certain things, why they didn't like certain things, and it's really helped in order to review those, as well as getting input regarding student achievement concerns. And so I really appreciate that, your observations, feedback, and input, and so thank you very much. Moving along, we're now into financial matters, and Mr. Schaefer, I believe you have the discussion for this.
Yeah, this is what you've all waited for. Yes. We have claims certified for payment for the month of February 2024. The first one is for instructional-related expenditures of $306,700. The majority of that went to AMN Healthcare Allied, $49,800 for contracted speech services. We had Liberty Point, $29,100 for private placement for SPED students. We had ProCare Therapy, $26,900 for contracted speech language services. We also had Sunbelt Staffing, $45,100 for contracted speech language services. Those were the big ones there. Technology was $130,500. The biggest part of that was $98,000 to CDW for 15 Promethean interactive boards for the communication support classrooms and 84 Chromebooks for academic tutors. Okay. Operational related expenditures total $210,000. Dominion was a vast majority of that at $163,300. Construction related expenditures totaled $835,200. The largest part of that, yay, went to Heartland Construction for Seaford Elementary Project, $212,000. So that was taking care of them. The other one was for Bruton High's roof replacement, yay, $342,900. For food service related expenditures totaled $566,300. And that was mostly for Sodexo. For food service management at $513,100. Okay, for February revenues, they increased by more than $6.3 million when compared to last year. The increase as a result of the 7% compensation adjustment, increase in student enrollment, and the addition of all-in funding. Sales tax revenue for February decreased by $1.3 million compared to last year. This is a result of change in economic activity. For expenditures, instructional expenditures for February increased by approximately $5.1 million when compared to last year. Excuse me. The difference can be attributed to the increase in compensation and benefits, the spend down of federal ESSER funds, and the increase of fill rates for instructional positions for fiscal '24. For revenues and expenditures for food service, local food service revenue has increased by more than $413,000 when compared to last year. That's due to the increase in the number of meals served. And this is for consideration of approval of Resolution 24-26. Resolution 24-26 requires the board's approval authorizing procurements of more than $50,000. There are 13 items on the resolution totaling $4.22 million, the details of which can be viewed on board docs. Madam Chair, I now move to approve financial matters as listed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer has moved to approve the financial matters as listed, seconded by Mr. Pyavich. Mrs. Howard, could you please take the vote? Oh, actually, is there any discussion regarding that? Sorry, I forgot to ask for that. Thank you. Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mr. Schaefer and seconded by Mr. Pyavich to approve financial matters as listed. Mr. Pyavich.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Fairman.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent calendar, I'll briefly go over the list. There is approval of personnel actions, approval of the minutes for the organizational meeting on January 8th, special meeting on January 19th, regular meeting on January 29th, special meeting on February 9th, special meeting on February 12th, special meeting and work session on February 12th, a special meeting on February 14th, special meeting on February 22nd, a regular meeting on February 26th, a special meeting on March 4th, special meeting on March 11th, a work session on March 11th, and a special meeting on March 15th. Moving along, approval of donations in the amount of $422.45. Approval of the 2024-25 annual plan for Title 6B federal funding. Approval of a lease agreement between the County School Board of York County, Virginia, and Child Evangelism Fellowship of Virginia, Inc., Peninsula Chapter. Are there, let's see, for that, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I make a motion.
As listed,
As
sorry.
listed.
A second.
Thank you. The motion was made by Mrs. Goodwin to approve the consent calendar as listed, seconded by Mr. Richardson. Sorry about that. Is there any further discussion or anything on that? Okay. Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mrs. Goodwin and seconded by Mr. Richardson to approve the consent calendar as listed. Mr. Pyavich.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Fairman.
Yes.
The motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving into action items, our first one is consideration of approval of a proclamation for Month of the Military Child, April 2024. Dr. Shandor, could you please share some information about this?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fairman. I will share some highlights from the proclamation. April is the, April is the month of the military child, a special month to recognize and pay tribute to military families and their children for the daily sacrifices made and for their commitment, courage, and unconditional support of our armed forces. And Wednesday, April 17th, is designated as National Purple Up Day for all school personnel and students to wear purple in honor of military children, in particular the students of York County School Division, which has the highest concentration of military children in Virginia. And the Commonwealth of Virginia is proud to be home to more than 77,000 children whose parents serve in the military and are stationed in Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll need a motion as well as a second to approve the proclamation for the Month of the Military Child as April 2024.
I move to approve the proclamation for the Month of the Military Child for April of 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Mr. Pyavich beat you on this second. Mr. Schaefer made the motion to approve the proclamation for Month of the Military Child as April 2024, was seconded by Mr. Pyavich. Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mr. Schaefer and seconded by Mr. Pyavich to approve a proclamation declaring April 2024 as Month of the Military Child. Mr. Pyavich.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Mrs. Fairman.
Yes.
The motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, now we have consideration of approval of Resolution 24-28, a resolution approving the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget and the fiscal year 2024 expected budget. Dr. Shandor, could we have your comments on Resolution 2428, please?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fairman. Again, we began the budget process back in October with staff analyzing information and identifying cost reduction efforts as well as identifying prioritized needs. We also held 2 budget sessions in order to receive community feedback. A preliminary budget outlook was presented in December, and we updated the board with state and federal funding outlooks in January. On February 12th, the superintendent's proposed budget, operating budget was presented. The total operating budget presented was $192.5 million. When including all funds, the total is $235.7 million, which includes food service, workman's comp, health and dental, and tech reserve funds. Again, the focus of FY25, the FY25 budget is what's best for students and to make sure it's aligned with our strategic plan, mission, vision, core values, and priorities. So just a few quick highlights. Supportive culture, $831,000 for collective commitment, $55,000 for highly effective talent, $9,235,000 for future-ready graduates, $818,000 safety and operations, another $818,000. At your work session on March 11th, Mr. Bowen updated the board regarding the differences between the governor's proposed budget and the General Assembly's version. This evening, the school board will be considering approving their recommended proposed budget for FY25, which will be transmitted to the supervisors for their consideration. Final budget actions necessary to present a balanced operating budget will be presented to the school board once the state and county have completed their budget process. Finally, I want to thank all of our staff members and community members and staff who have shared their feedback with the superintendent and with our board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. At this time, I need a motion and a second to approve consideration of approval of a Resolution 24-28, a resolution approving the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget and the fiscal year 2024 expected budget.
Madam Chair, I move approval of Resolution 24-28, a resolution approving the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget and the fiscal year 2024 expected budget.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Schaefer seconded. Thank you very much with that. Is there any discussion or comment? I just had one comment. I just wanted to double check that with this, it still means that we can tweak things until everything's finalized.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that. Thank you very much. Is there any other question?
Also, I would like just to say thank you to Mr. Bowman for such a hard
Yes.
work on this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve Resolution 2428, a resolution approving the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget and the fiscal year 2024 expected budget. Mr. Pyavich?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Fairman?
Yes.
The motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving along, the next is consideration of approval of the revised school attendance zone lines. Dr. Shandor, comments?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fairman. Staff really doesn't have any comments this evening, but I have asked Dr. Carroll to please come to the podium to help and aid in any further discussion that the board wishes to have related to the attendance zones.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We'll open it up to the board for discussion. We had an opportunity, let me step back a second. I'll frame this a little better. We had an opportunity to meet with board members last week. We set up a few two-on-two meetings to have some further discussion with each of the board members related to each of the proposals. I think there were 6 or 7 of those proposals. Dr. Carroll went in depth, in detail with each of the board members, not only talking about their zone, but the entire school division as some of these recommendations were put out there by our consultant. So with that said, I'll now turn it over to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. So, Dr. Carroll, I was just wondering from my district, if you might just present how the rezoning would impact my district, just so people out there can see that, just a visual. I know we've discussed, and I just want them to be able to see what that would look like.
Are you asking under Plan E revised or Plan E? Is
Oh,
that
I'm
where-
sorry, yes, I'm asking under
E revised.
E revised.
Okay.
And so that'd be Yorktown and Seaford.
Yes.
And, let's see.
I don't believe there were any revisions to E in that little pocket of zone. So it's
No,
just
there were
E, so
not. And
probably.
Yes, yeah, I know we didn't have any major revisions, I just wanted to put up
Yep.
there so people could see, because we
Absolutely.
did look at revision, so how everything looks for that.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not seeing one of the
That's okay.
things here, but I'm sorry. So the question is, how does it look for you? As far as Yorktown, we are looking at that about 30 students from the off-installation Naval Weapons Station would then be rerouted to Yorktown Elementary. Those students also stay in that feeder pattern up into the Bruton zone. So that's something we want to consider. Also, that there's apartments and townhomes in the Nelson's Grant area and across the street on Eustis Boulevard. There's about 70 students there that would be rerouted to Seaford Elementary School. Now, of course, with all of these, we've recommended that any fifth graders and their siblings be able to stay for one more year.
Thank you.
Dr. Carroll, I just wanted to thank you for the extra work going on in taking some of the different ideas that different parents and taxpayers had in our different districts, saying, you know, we like this, but we didn't like that part, and can we tweak this, and can we do part of it here and this? And that really helped us kind of come together on what was going on, and so the explanations and working through this process was fairly easy, thanks to what you all were putting together, and I really appreciated the time that you all took on that.
Well, thank you, and if I could, one more time, thank the members of the stakeholder committee. They were incredibly engaged and a pleasure to work with, and I agree with you, work towards the best process.
Mr.
On
Schaefer?
that note, could you cover the big changes, which was in my district in the Bruton zone, of what we plan to do?
Certainly. So in the last meeting, Mr. Schaefer, you'd asked about looking at a different alternative. And we originally had, I'm just going to use the mouse here, that we had looked at, Plan E had looked at this section right here to move up into Waller Mill. Plans B, C, and D had reached down a little farther south of the Parkway. And you had entertained an idea or introduced an idea of leaving those established neighborhoods there and looking at where we have a lot of growth in the Marquee Hill area. And so we shared this picture with you at that meeting. We have looked at that, and I've shared it with the board, and we've posted it online. As we look at, this looks a little closer. Now, of course, the Marquee at Williamsburg is the commercial area here, but the Marquee Hills are all the single-family homes that have been built out, and we do have an apartment building there, 3 apartment buildings that are going to yield 265 units, and those look almost done. So those are going to start opening up very soon if they haven't already. We did take a look at what that would mean for utilization, and so you can see that the top of this slide shows you what A, B, C, D, and E were going to yield. And then we've got what we call a revised Plan E down here. So we would be at 91.25% for Magruder, but that would take care of about all the development that is planned in that area. I mean, I think it's less than 10 that would be left. It would take the utilization at Waller Mill, and remember, that's factoring in the new portable that we are putting there, but it would put it at 79.07%. So a good bit of room there, even after we move the existing students that are coming from the Marquee Hill area. But it would, all of the growth in the Upper County then would then be funneled to Waller Mill. So that's where we're at. When it comes down to the free and reduced lunch levels, you see the consultant put this together, that Magruder would be at 32.57% and Waller Mill would be at 35.6%. Now, don't compare that to Plan E unless that's something you're considering. Take it back to fall 2023. So that would be about a 2% lowering of that percentage for Magruder, and for Waller Mill, it would go up about 1%. So not a lot of fluctuation there. So that does give you a very stable environment. And then as far as transportation in the short run, the Colonial Parkway is under some construction, and it's going to be for some time. So even though the original plan with the consultant was to surround the parkway, because that would be a quick way over towards Waller Mill and would be closer, actually in the short term, the Marquee Hill would be a better solution in the short run.
Are there any other comments or questions or anything?
Madam Chair, I do have two motions, I think, that may cover everything that was discussed, if you'd like me to make those motions.
Sure, Mr. Richardson, that would be fine. Thank you.
So I guess the first motion, we'll talk about the motion to accept one of the plans, and appreciate the stakeholder committee, had parents on it, and we listened to our parents too, and a lot of these decisions, or I think all these decisions that are made, covers some of yours, Ms. Fairman, and Woodlake covers some of yours, Mr. Schaefer, Ms. Goodwin, I think, in some of yours. I don't believe any of yours are changing, Mr. Zorn, so you slipped right through there on that one. But it accommodates some in my district as well. So factoring in the recommendations we've received from the consultant, the stakeholder committee, and the input we've received since I would move the following. Accept option E revised, which is the plan for Waller Mill and Magruder zones starting in the 2024-25 school year. Accept option E for the Yorktown and Seaford zones starting in the 2024-2025 school year. Accept option E for Dare, Grafton, Bethel, and Coventry minus Wanders Pond and the single-family homes along the north side of Lakeside between Wanders Pond and Kalana Point. And I'll pause on the motion right there just to explain that part of it. That includes two houses that are just on a little small stretch of roadway on Lakeside Drive, and it includes the entire Wanders Pond subdivision and kind of makes that the line there. But this part that I just described is to be delayed until there's adequate parking constructed between Dare and Seaford School Board office. And just a clarification, we already have a lot of issues with parking, and this will just compound that issue, so we're going to try to fix that if we can. In addition, for part of the motion, and Ms. Howard, I have this written up for you. Accept option E that includes no changes to Mount Vernon, Tab, and Bethel Manor. And furthermore, that all moves, fifth graders will be grandfathered in the remaining to remain at their schools along with any siblings if their families elect to do so for a period of one school year and provide their own transportation.
All right, that's the elementary sample, that's the first motion.
That's the first motion, right, that covers all the other. The second one kind of covers that little area of the weapon station, that area up there, to bring them from the upper end down to the lower end. And I'll cover that in a separate motion. It was just too long to add it into one.
That sounds fine. So do we have a second for the motion that Mr. Richardson just read in detail?
Since you don't have anything.
Mr. Payovich seconds that. Is there any further discussion regarding this portion of the motion? Hearing no further discussion or questions, Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mr. Payovich to approve revised attendance zone lines, accept option E revised plan for the Waller Mill and Magruder zones starting with the 24-25 school year, accept option E for the Yorktown and Seaford zones starting with the 24-25 school year, accept option E for Dare, Grafton, Bethel, and Coventry minus Winders Pond and single-family homes along the north side of Lakeside Drive between Winders Pond and Kalana Point to be delayed until there is adequate parking constructed between Dare and the school board office. Except option E, that includes no changes to Mount Vernon, Tab, and Bethel Manor, and that for all moves, fifth graders will be grandfathered into the remain at their schools along with any siblings if their families elect to do so for a period of 1 school year and provide their own transportation.
Perfect.
Mr. Pyavich.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
And Mrs. Fairman.
Yes,
The motion passed 5-0.
thank you.
So a secondary motion to that, Ms. Fairman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Richardson.
In addition to the preceding elementary motion, I move that the secondary zoning between Bruton and York zones be moved, that the York zone incorporates the streets of Musket Road, Mortar Loop, Lafayette Drive, Lebanon Church Road, and Washington Drive. All rising K through fourth graders will transfer to Yorktown Elementary School for the 24-25 school year. Rising fifth graders and their siblings may remain at Magruder Elementary for 1 year with transportation provided by the division unless they opt to attend Yorktown Elementary next year. Rising sixth graders and all other incoming students, as well as any current students that want to opt in, will attend the appropriate York zone school starting in the 24-25 school year. All current rising 7th through 12th graders may remain at Queens Lake Middle and Bruton High School with transportation provided by the division until their graduation. Many of these are military families that are going to be probably filtering out in 1 to 2 years.
Right, PCSing out.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. The motion has been made by Mr. Richardson, seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Is there any further discussion? Questions or anything? All right. Hearing no further discussion, Mrs. Howard.
A motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve the secondary zoning line between Bruton and York zones be moved so that York zone incorporates the streets of Musket Road, Mortar Loop, Lafayette Drive, Lebanon Church Road, and Washington Drive. All rising K through fourth graders will transfer to Yorktown Elementary School for the 24-25 school year. Rising fifth graders and their siblings may remain at Magruder Elementary for 1 year with transportation provided by the division unless they opt to attend Yorktown Elementary next year. Rising sixth graders and all other incoming students, as well as any current students that want to opt in, will attend the appropriate York Zone school starting with the 24-25 school year. All current 7th through 12th graders will remain at Queens Lake Middle and Bruton High School with transportation provided by the division until their graduation. Mr. Pyavich.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Mrs. Fairman.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I could, I just want to let you know that we'll be working on getting those communications ready for any affected families, and those should go out right after spring break.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll.
Greatly appreciate all the detailed work that went into that. I know it wasn't an easy task, but you all did an excellent job on it. Greatly appreciate it. The next topic is consideration of approval of policy writing services. The last meeting, we heard the presentation by what everybody calls VSBA, which is the Virginia School Board Association. Today, we heard the presentation from SBMA, which is the School Board Member Alliance. The chair will handle a motion at this time.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Mrs. Goodwin?
at this time that we adopt the School Board Member Alliance Policy Working Services, known as SBMA.
For their policy writing services?
For policy writing services.
Thank you.
yes.
Is there a second? Second. The motion has been made by Mrs. Goodwin and seconded by Mr. Pyavich to choose the policy writing services or to adopt the policy writing services of the School Board Member Alliance, SBMA. Is there any discussion at this point?
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, I have concerns about litigation, but I'd like to defer to our attorney and get her opinion because that was our original discussion, was to get her to vet the two and make a recommendation. So I'd just like to hear from her before I vote.
Thank you. Mrs. Berry.
School board members, based on the information provided on March 11, 2024 by the VSBA and tonight by the SBMA, it would be my recommendation that the school board continue to purchase policy services from VSBA, as VSBA provides a complete database of sample policy available at all times for staff. All policies are drafted by an attorney, which gives me confidence that the statutes, regulations, and case law have been interpreted correctly, and they are fully available and responsive to email and phone requests by staff. The school board is required under Virginia Code Section 22.1-253.13:7 to maintain up-to-date policies. I have concerns regarding SBMA's lack of a full database of sample policies, as well as the legal sufficiency of the policy services through SBMA, as they clearly state in all their literature that they do not provide legal advice. As Ms. Goodwin stated, I have a lot of duties, and I rely on a full policy database to enable me to review your policies and policy changes. I feel that not having full policy services and database as we have in the past, this will impact the school board's ability to meet the requirements of 22.1-253.13:7.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Berry. Personally, I just wanted to put information out there so people could know this. I know the board members received this. For the VSBA, the policy writing services, that for 1 year is $3,750. And in order to have access to that, we also have to be a full member as a board of the VSBA, which is around $12,000 as a yearly cost, almost $13,000, sorry about that, thank you. The SBMA policy services cost for a year is $2,900. And I believe Mrs. Goodwin asked a question during this time that even though individual board members can be members of the SBMA, we do not have to be members of SBMA in order to utilize and purchase their policy writing services. So that gets the financial side out of, or out, so everybody knows that. Is there any other comment or question?
Yeah.
Mr. Schaefer.
I would say that you get what you pay for. And that that it bothers me that they don't have any lawyers on staff. I think Mrs. Shee said that they run it out of a house in Forest. Oh, over there. Okay. And how many employees does this place have? They've been around for a year. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they have the staff that the VSBA does. And they won't be there to back us up if a policy is challenged, and we could be financially held liable, and which I think would cost a lot more than what the prices are that we're talking about here. Not to mention that the leadership, both of those leaders, I'm sorry, are tarnished. One is a disgraced ex-school board member from Suffolk that sued her school board and everything else. And the one that's in Virginia Beach, she's not running again because of the comments that she made. So I think that having people of questionable character running our policies and stuff, I don't think is a good idea.
And I'd just like to make one other.
Hang on, Mr. Richardson, Mr. Pavich.
So, Ms. Melanie, you were talking about you not getting full perspective, full database of the policies. How often, like, we coming across those policies that you have to use on like from database?
I look at policies quite frequently. For instance, in February, there were about 28 updates to policies that VSBA put out to their members, which we did not get. So at this point, we probably have 28 policies that have not been updated. They come out on a monthly basis from VSBA in many cases, but it's case law as well. So anytime a case is decided by one of the courts in our jurisdiction, like the Fourth Circuit, Supreme Court, we have to make changes to policy. And I rely on that database to review any policies that staff want to change or any changes that we need to make to remain compliant.
And right now, that database is not available to you?
Correct.
Okay. Now, talking about, Mark, you were actually mentioning that they don't have the attorney on staff, but I heard that they have 2 attorneys on staff?
No, they are not on staff.
Okay,
Those 2 attorneys are not on staff. It's people that they go to
okay,
for whatever.
all right. Now, challenging the policies, how often does that happen?
We've always used VSBA, so we've never had anyone challenge our policies. However, VSBA will, in the contract, they will provide support for us and funding if we are challenged on a policy.
I think it's worth noting, excuse me, I think it's worth noting that our chief officers spend a great deal of time in policy. When I think about, was it policy L? I'm sorry, policy I, that Ms. Skinner completed this past year or last year, it was extensive work that Ms. Skinner, her team, and Ms. Berry worked on. So our chief officers spend a lot of time with policy. It's not just the attorney who spends time with policy, it's staff.
It's not just case law, it's Attorney General's opinions. There's a lot of other things than just the what the state changes in their laws that I know they look at and revise. The treasurer for that organization is out of a house out of Forest, Virginia. I think it's up on the other side of Lynchburg. The Miss Story, she registers the, I guess it's called the primary principal. The registered office is registered to a condominium in Woodbridge. So it's not even at a business site, it's at a residence. So I just have some concerns with the professionalism of the whole organization right now. I mean, I know they're trying to start off, but they're not, just to my eyes, they're not batting 1,000 here with me.
Not to mention the fact that the VSBA represents, what was it, did they tell us, 124 of the 132 school divisions? I believe it was.
So I would like to, I don't know what the proper protocol is, but I'd like to amend, and it may have to be 2 separate motions, but I don't see any reason why, because I understand the concerns about something being new and you're trying to dip your toes into something when you've had something that, you know, you felt secure with. But I also don't like the fact that when you use their organization, that you're tethered, when you use their policy services, excuse me, that you're kind of tethered to that organization for a $13,000 price tag. However, with that said, I also know that in the membership that Mr. Richardson has involvement at a higher level there, so that I don't know what that would do. I would like to see in the future perhaps they offer some individual memberships, but what I propose is that we use both. That way the members, some of us are members of it, it gives us a chance to try it, writing policy to utilize that service and give them a chance to see what they do. I mean, when you think of the costs of the budget, when you think of the budget overall, I mean, the amount that it costs to join, the amount that it costs for that policy service is really peanuts when you think of the overall budget. And that would give confidence, I think, to see, time to measure and time to see if it's all that we think it is, and then you have the VSBA policy as well for those that are using it, and it gives us a year to really kind of look at it and evaluate it. Mr. Richardson and Mr. Schaefer would be able to see it too, even though they're not members, they still have access to it. And then we can come together later and maybe make a better or more informed decision. And I think that that would kind of be a happy medium and appease the majority of people. I'm sure I'm not going to appease everybody by that decision or by that proposal, but that's what I feel in my heart at this time would probably be the most workable and best solution.
All right, we have a motion that's been made and seconded on the floor to accept the SBMA membership, or not membership, excuse me, the policy writing services. The person who made that motion has put out the possibility of changing that to purchase both policy writing services to be able to compare them and utilize both throughout the year to see which one is best for moving forward. Is there a second on the amendment that Mrs. Goodwin has made?
I'll second that, actually.
All right, Mr. Pyavich has seconded that amended to Mrs. Goodwin's initial motion that we purchase both. Is there discussion on that?
I would just like to ask a question. Ms. Berry has a number of responsibilities on her plate earlier, as we've discussed, whether it's contracts, human resources, student matters, going to the courthouse. There's just a number of things that she does within the organization as well as policy services. If the board chooses to select two different ones, my question is, how's that gonna work when it lands? Meaning, are we now gonna be reviewing two separate, policies from two different organizations? I just don't know the practicality of how that's gonna work.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. I believe that falls into the purview of, it's the responsibility of the school board itself to be involved with the policy writing services, to have a standing committee that we would need to set up for policy review and policy writing, that we would then work with the attorney, and we would have both sets of policies to take a look at, to then be able to weigh both along the lines.
Would it be fair to say then, to give Ms. Berry some direction, because, I'm sure she's going to be torn between, she doesn't know what to do. She's listening to both sides. Would it be fair to say to her, continue to do her policy services as they have been, with you doing what you were going to do with the SBMA, and when the new policies come out, you can compare them and go, well, wait a minute, can we do this change, this change?
I think that's what the plan is.
Okay.
Mrs.
Yeah,
Goodwin?
that's what I'm proposing. You have both, and you look at them, and then you see, okay,
So she'll continue doing the VSBA, y'all will continue to look at SBMA, and we'll compare the two, and
Yes, because we're going to form a policy committee so that we can really look at that. And so that would, I think, achieve that goal.
Is there any further discussion? All right, we'll see. I believe the motion is that, the amended motion was that both SBMA and VSBA would be purchased for their policy writing services for the school board for the next year. Mrs. Howard, sorry.
A motion was made by Mrs. Goodwin and seconded by Mr. Pyavich to approve the policy writing services purchase of both SBMA and VSBA. Mr. Pyavich?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
no.
Mrs. Fairman?
Yes.
The motion passed 4-1.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Moving along with more, I believe the next thing is regarding school board structure. Let's see, consideration of approval of school board structure. Is there a motion to have any discussion on this?
The reason,
Okay, we need to have a motion in order to have discussion, so you need to make whatever your motion is.
I move that, I got to tell you what it is.
You got to make a motion.
Okay.
You have to make a motion.
I want to make a motion so that we have the structure for emails being answered that come to the board to be done by the board chair, okay? If they come to each individual member, we respond, and we need to do it on a timely basis. Now, I'll leave the timely basis, I would say, since many of us work, that it would be within, say, a week, even though we hold our staffs to, in the schools and all, to 48 hours, okay? But I think 24 hours. Then I think that that we should be able to answer those emails from our constituents, whether it be positive or negative. We ought to be able to do that within that time frame.
All right, is there a second to Mr. Schaefer's motion regarding emails from the board to be, did you say within 24 hours?
No,
Seven
that's
days,
week.
7
Within
days,
a week.
Within a week?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
I would just ask for a point of clarity. Standard operating procedure for the school divisions that our staff members respond within 24 hours. Even if they do not know the answer, they should respond. I've held our staff accountable for that for almost 10 years. So if a staff member in York County doesn't respond until 7 days later as being modeled by our school board, is that going to be okay with the school board? If a principal doesn't respond to an email within 7 days, is that going to be okay?
Okay, let me, if I can understand this, this particular motion is regarding the school board, not regarding employees. School board members are not employees of the school division, and so it's two separate things here, and that's,
Okay.
Did I understand?
I could amend it to say that we will respond within 24 hours, okay? And maybe not say, hey, I've got to research it, whatever, and I'll get back to you. I could see that within 24 hours.
I don't know about y'all, but it's like,
Okay.
I'm actually receiving on a business level about 170 to 250 emails a day. So like, yeah, I can tell you, you don't really, so what? I believe that, that's fine. But 24 hours will not work for me.
okay,
So-
wait, before we have any more discussion, we need a second on the amendment of 24 hours for the motion, or I guess a friendly amendment, since it's your amendment, okay. All right, along with that, any further discussion? Sorry, Mr. Pyavich, did you have anything else to say regarding the 24 hours?
I see where Mr. Pyevic is coming from. He runs a business, and that's certainly commendable with him doing this job as well. I'm kind of torn. I think we need to model for our staff and do what we should do what they're required to do. But I understand when you're busy. And there's probably going to be those times where you can't respond within 24 hours. 48 hours would probably be more reasonable. But I'm good with the 24 because, again, I think we should model what we're asking our employees to do.
Is there any further discussion on this?
So what are the consequences if we don't?
Well, we don't have any board norms or protocols, so we really don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have any code of conduct, so we don't know.
Yeah.
No, because
Well-
whenever I was a parent on the other side, I emailed stuff and I didn't get it back, from staff on top of it. So like, you asked me what are the consequences for my employees not answering. So you're proposing policy like for us to abide by, like not to respond to emails in 48 hours, so.
If I could interject something here, I believe this actually sounds more like an issue that we can discuss at our retreat that we're putting together, that it falls under the collegiality and norms and protocols that we all agreed to that we were going to be discussing. That if we can handle that there and put it together, that would probably be, the best choice rather than make a decision tonight on this.
I'm okay with that. I think that would be good. We could talk more about, I can go with the 24-hour, but I think that to Zoran, Mr. Pyevich's point, when you do get flooded with a lot of emails, and I know sometimes if I'm working all day and then I have a crisis where I'm at the hospital or doing an admission, I could be there for quite a while. And that could go all the way into a 24-hour segment. So, I think we need to discuss that a little bit more, but I understand timely feedback is important.
I just want to say to all of you guys, I will do better to respond to my emails. So you have my promise on those things. This limits, really, it's really hard in line of duty what I'm doing to respond. It's just a lot of it going on. So I will take more time to respond to it. So much.
All right, I think we're ready for the vote, Mrs. Howard. Well, what we can do is we can table it to the retreat, or we can vote it down knowing that we're going to take it up at the retreat.
Yeah.
All right, we'll need a motion to table it to the retreat.
I make a motion that we table this conversation about time to respond for the emails to when we have our retreat to discuss the norms and protocols.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Schaefer seconds to table to the discussion and decision regarding board emails and responses. And it has been seconded. Mrs. Howard?
A motion has been made by Mrs. Goodwin and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to table the response time to emails directed to the board during the board retreat. Mr. Pyavich?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fairman?
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, I believe we're on to, let's see, policy discussion. Actually, there was no policy discussion, but we are on policy first reading of Section L, the Education Agency Relations. Regarding that, hang on, sorry. All the papers here and moving along. Dr. Shandor, do you have any comments regarding this?
Thank you, Ms. Fairman.
Thank you.
We have no changes since the last discussion.
All righty. Thank you very much. We have no second reading action done. At this time, we'll take on the report of the superintendent. Dr. Shandor.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I want to, first off, I want to thank the following teachers who invited me to come read to their students. I had a blast reading to them. Jenna Schreifer's class at Yorktown Elementary School, Nancy Northcott, Sarah Durr, Stacy Herrick, Cynthia Icho, all at Seaford, and April Dawson at Tab Elementary School. I had a great time reading with those students. Also, as the board members mentioned earlier, we were judges for the Future Chef, which is a great opportunity for our students. I did want to acknowledge the winner, Paisley Hockaday. She's a fifth grader at Grafton Bethel Elementary School. We're really proud of her. She made a shrimp spring roll bowl. And what's really neat is all of her classmates at Grafton Bethel will get to experience her dish later in the school year in the spring, so that's really cool. Also, Mr. Pyavich brought up, we had a student, a seventh grader, Maria Rose Sawjun, who won the Thank a Teacher Virginia Lottery Art Contest. We're really proud of her. Again, she's at Grafton Middle School. As mentioned earlier, again, the Star Banquet was Thursday. We had an opportunity to recognize all of our outstanding teachers, our Teachers of the Year, our Para-Educators of the Year, our Support Staff of the Year. We have a list of those dedicated employees that can be found on our division website. But we did surprise two people there. Jennifer Jarrett from Grafton High School, as she was announced as the Spirit of Education winner, which was wonderful. We surprised her. She actually brought her choral students to the event, had no idea that she was getting an award that night. So it was wonderful to surprise her. And then we have a longstanding member of Team YCSD, Mr. George Lynch. He received the Superintendent's Award. If you don't know George, he is an outstanding employee. He's been around here a long time. No one outworks him. I'm not going to say his age on camera, but I can tell you in 10 years, we've done a lot of last-minute move-ins like Waller Mill and Tab Elementary and Dare Elementary and Seaford Elementary. So we've had some pretty rough summers to get school started on time, and I can tell you that George Lynch has been there every step of the way with his team and many times outworking all of us. So really appreciate him. I do want to acknowledge Dr. Wrights and his team in the HR department for putting on this event. I think everyone enjoyed themselves, and it was a real special evening for all of our employees. I did want to acknowledge a little group of Tab Elementary kindergarten students who invited me to come to have lunch with them. They humbled me as clearly my rock, paper, scissors game has passed me by. These little kindergartners took me to school, so really, again, just a great opportunity to get into the schools. I had the opportunity to go to Dare Elementary's Career Day, which was really cool. We had a number of local businesses come to share their careers. We had a former pro football player there, who was a former Bruton High School player there, Brian Randall, who played for Virginia Tech. And he also had a stint with the best franchise in sports history, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was good to see him there. We had a number of our YCSD staff members there in maintenance, making buddy benches for the students there as well. Teaching kids construction was awesome. Also, we had a powder puff game at Tab High School that I was invited to. We stood there in the rain, watched the upperclassmen win that one. The special education open house and resource fair that board members mentioned this evening. I wanted to share that Tremaine Hopkins and her team and Dr. Skinner's team did a great job of putting that together. Awesome resources for our families. I attended the Distinguished Business Affair event at the Freight Shed last week with our county folks. We have a lead program that is really for up-and-coming leaders in the school division, and we're on about our 6th cohort. I wanted to acknowledge Dr. Joy Richardson. She's an associate director for special education. She came, we always have guest speakers come. She came and shared a part of some of the work that we do there. It's called Challenging the Process. She did a great job of sharing her leadership experiences with them. I also attended the chair-vice chair meeting with Mr. Rohn, Ms. Knoll, Ms. Fairman, Ms. Goodwin, and Mr. Bellamy, and I think it was a very productive discussion, about 2 hours or so. Looking at getting the joint meeting started back. We generated a lot of topics. We'll probably have to cut a lot of those topics, but we did have very productive discussion. I had some really good walkthroughs with Mr. Richardson in the York zone, and I was able to get up to the Bruton zone as well. Spent some really quality time at Queens Lake. And there was one thing that I'll shoot the board an email tomorrow related to the school board retreat. We met at the board planning session for this meeting, and the school board retreat was going to focus on training. Will be organized by the chair and vice chair with assistance from the clerk as needed. We appreciate superintendent's willingness to help, but this particular retreat will focus on required training and not administrative updates. So from what I'm understanding from our discussion tonight, we're going to put board norms and protocols and potentially a code of conduct on that agenda. So that's good. All right. Thank you very much. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. As a reminder to everyone, we will not have a work session in April. So the next time we'll be back here in York Hall on Monday, April 22nd for our regular meeting. And wish you a very safe and relaxing spring break. Now, since this is coming to the end of the agenda, once again, according to policy BDDH/KD, community members who do not sign up to address the board prior to the beginning of the business portion of the meeting will be given an opportunity to speak at the end of the board's meeting agenda. So that would be now. So if you had not signed up, you can speak now. It follows the same process. It's 3 minutes each to a 30-minute max. So those people who had signed up, this is not for you according to policy. And this is one of those things that when the board starts, okay, ladies and gentlemen, the policy that I'm actually. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read the policy directly. Ladies and gentlemen, the policy as it's stated, it's right here in the policy handbook. Community members who do not sign up to address the board prior to the beginning of the business portion of the meeting will be given an opportunity to speak at the end of the board's meeting agenda. Such community member comments made at the end of the board meeting shall be subject to the same conditions and limitations listed herein. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Haywood, you are out of order. Excuse, Mrs. Haywood, you are out of order. Out of order. If you could please have a seat and we can try this, okay, at the discretion of the chair. Okay, excuse me. I'm not going to argue if it means that I have to call a recess and we clear the hall, that's what we'll do. But what we can do is those who wish to speak who did not sign up, please raise your hand. Okay, we're not taking that right now. We're in the middle of this. If you did not sign up and you wish to speak, please line up in the center. Then we can take those who signed up. We'll do this. Those people, and once again, you can speak up to 3 minutes at the maximum of 30 minutes. We're following policy here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, it's the policy that was read the last time, and I'm not going to argue with the audience. If you would like to get in line, the next ones after those who had not signed up is Barbara Haywood, Charles Gates, Sam Ray, Dr. Amy Brown, Melissa Saba, Erica Harris, Christy Chamberlain, Jim Spencer, Tom Jett, Deb Wesley, Todd Hoagland, Randy Eaton, Nicole Living, Keith, I think it's Heron, I can't tell, Aaron Masigna, maybe Andre Taylor, and Samuel Uri. But once again, 3 minutes max. If you do it less, we will get through more, up through 30 minutes. All right, we will try this.
Where does it say 30 minutes?
It says 30 minutes in the policy. Once again, the chair will impose a time limit of 3 minutes. It does not give me the discretion to limit it down to 1 minute to get more people to speak. I know the Board of Supervisors has that, but our policy, this is one of the reasons why the board needs to review some of these policies to make some adjustments. Ladies and gentlemen, those people speaking out may just be spoiling it for everybody else. Please stop. All right. With no more than 30 minutes allocated for the comments of community members, I'm following policy. We're going to start right now. The first one, please. And you will need to state your name and your district.
Good evening. My name is Diane Smith. I am in District 3. Madam Chair, Mrs. Goodwin, Mr. Pajevec, congratulations. It's safe to say you have successfully engaged the community. And you've put York County in the national news. I just wish it was because of the excellence of our schools, not the political hack job that is happening here. And I think tonight's will be one for the books. Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Richardson, thank you for speaking for us. Before I came here, I was concerned about the SBMA. After watching the presentation, I was terrified. People move to and live in York County because of the schools. And I just see that as a disaster waiting to happen. So I appreciate, Mrs. Goodwin, your proposal that we at least try both for a while. That is a decent compromise, although still a little scary. To the parents of current students, I'd like to challenge the idea that those of us with grown children are not relevant to the conversation. The education of our children is critical, not just for the children and their families, but to our society. Thomas Jefferson said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." I know that you are desperate for your children and you are worried about the direction of the school board, but I am worried too, and I'm here to support parents, but Also, these are the children who are going to be making decisions about about my retirement, and so I want them to be well educated. For the 30-minute time limit, perhaps if you are going to keep that, although I suggest you use discretion to not do that, perhaps prioritize the parents with current students so that they can get home and take care of their kids and be heard, because they are very relevant. Mr. Porter, I think, has left, as I was going to tell him, as I have tried to impress upon my daughter. You can try to remove it, you can try to make it private, you can pretend it's a misunderstanding, but once it's on the internet, it never, ever goes away. And I have seen the videos, much of York County has seen the videos. He needs to find a new approach. Although I will give him credit for the, I'm not in a militia, you're in a militia. That was fun. I liked that. To close, I'll say I graduated from York High School. My daughter graduated from Tabb High School. I am hoping, not anytime soon, but eventually to have children in York County schools. Please do not ruin them.
Thank you. Next in line.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Brooks, and I am in District 4, and I'm going to give the microphone.
Okay, please direct your
I'm going to give
talks
the
here.
microphone to her.
You're not, you can't yield your time, just.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead and speak, Ms. Haywood.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Shandor. I'm in shock with you all tonight. That's the only thing I can say. My name is Barbara Haywood, and I reside in the Bruton District. You probably ask, why do I come here again tonight? What do I want to accomplish? I returned this month to again urge you to engage in appropriate leadership training, which you need. During my 30 years on this board, I have served in leadership at the Virginia School Board Association and the National School Board Association. I have assisted VSBA in training sessions for new board members, so I know firsthand the important and timely information presented in leadership training through VSBA. As a reputable organization offering professional development and training to state boards for over 117 years. Please use this organization, who functions in compliance with Virginia law and the Code of Virginia, for all students to better help you understand this enormous and highly important position that you're in. Each of you all took an oath, not just for a select few, but for all students. It will be in the best interest if all of you act collectively as we and not individually as I. And if you cannot comply with this oath that you raised your hand for, you need to step down. So I answer my initial question of what I want to accomplish in speaking to you. I want you to be the best leader that you can to work on behalf of all of our students. This begins with proper training in your duties and responsibilities, and you need it. This begins with reading the large information binder that the superintendent and his staff put together for all new board members. Your questions in your prior meetings imply that you did not thoroughly read this information. And lastly, you've talked about a retreat. Please, please do this retreat. You need it. Please don't lead by a narrow belief or by a select few that you surround yourself with, but lead effectively, educated on school board governance, duties, and responsibilities that would in turn allow you to effectively lead the school division. If you take advantage of VSBA and don't find it to be beneficial, then you would have used resources that are available to you to represent this county. But I can assure you that you will walk away having a much better perspective on your role. So my goal in speaking to you is strongly to urge you to engage in governance and leadership training. This is just the beginning of your term. Please take the opportunity to get it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haywood. Next.
Thank you.
Okay, next in line.
Hello, I'm Regina Watson, District 5, and I'm yielding my time to this gentleman.
Sir, school board, my name is Charles Gates. I'm the second VP for the YJCW NAACP. If I was not from this area, the first hour of this spectacle, I wanted to grab my seatmates' hands and sing Kumbaya. However, as we went on, it became apparent that there is an apparent split, differences of opinions, and the opinions of these in these seats are purposely not being heard. We implore you, you work for the people of this county. I'm not going to tell you what your job is. I don't know everything you do. But what we do know is that you represent every student in this county. Do so with respect and integrity, because we read the Post. We hear the gossip. We watch and listen to the words that are being used, not only in this chamber, but outside of these walls. We hear, we see, we will be holding those responsible accountable.
Thank you. Next in line.
My name is Melissa Madrigal. I'm in District 2, and I yield my time to this gentleman.
Good evening. My name is Andre Taylor, District 3. I would like to start by saying excuses are the tools of the weak and incompetent that build monuments of nothingness. Those who specialize in them seldom achieve anything other than excuses. And that's all I've heard tonight. I have twin daughters that are in school at Seaford Elementary. And I get one excuse of, well, show me evidence of enslaved people being sad. And you wouldn't go look. And you use rhetoric that is just that insinuates negative stuff. 1619. If that's your political stance, be it. But understand there's more than just that. So stop repeating what somebody else said and do your own research. That is what I do every single day. And then when I hear somebody say that I own a business and I get so many emails and I can't respond, guess what? I'm in grad school, I'm a parent, and I work full time. I respond to every email within 24 hours. If your business is that important to you, step aside from this position and go handle your business. Because right now you are failing the students in this school district, all right? And you said that you have students that are in this school district that act like it. Act like you care, all right? Those of us in here that want to be heard, we want to be heard. Now back to you, okay? You said so you've never seen information to see if slaves were sad, is that correct? Is that correct? So you're not going to answer. Awesome. Let me educate you tonight because you need to learn, okay? The slave narratives, all right? Look up Maddie Curtis. She was one of 14 children born to her parents. The slave owners sold those kids off. They were able to retrieve 3. Would that make you sad if somebody took your kids from you? Answer me. Would it? So I see that not only are we not answering questions, we're displaying that we're going to be cowardly. So how can you lead the children of the future? How can you lead the future leaders if you're going to sit there and not answer questions of the parents here of these students? Shame. Shame.
Thank you. Next in line.
Tawana Golson.
Next in.
Tawana Golson, NAACP, Women in the NAACP co-chair. I'm yielding my time to Dr. Ure.
My name is Sam Uri. I live in District 4. When we filled out our cards, we put on the card what topic we wanted to deal with. If we put on the card the issue of the SBMA, we should have been allowed to speak before you took a vote on the SBMA, my understanding, because that seems to make sense. I'm addressing the pressing issue of the school board member alliance known as SBMA. The organization's mission is to promote high-quality school board governance training that emphasizes excellence in education and addresses the distinctive needs of each student. This is what their website says. It refers to itself as a powerful network of conservative members working collaboratively to champion parental rights. Power comes in numbers. They don't have it. Look up the websites SBMA versus the Virginia School Board Association. It looks like and is a JV versus a varsity in terms of comparison. I'm known as a somewhat blunt person who does not try to blow smoke up anybody's tail. I pride myself as a person who seeks and recognizes truth, and I do a lot of fact-finding. SBMA is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I've talked with full-time lobbyists in Richmond. Look up their past platform, the planks of being pro-school vouchers, pro-school choice, wanting the defunding of public education, and you all are all public education servants. Now, I may be using some polarizing remarks, so let me break this down in a very real way that the York County citizens will understand. This organization got its impetus during the COVID pandemic. The most important thing is to know that it is fiscally irresponsible to put policy matters in their hands. They do not have the legal staff to keep up with the changes needing to be implemented on July 1st. Now, we may not even have the budget finished before we're having to worry about the implementation. The VSBA does. The VSBA is a constant presence in Richmond during the legislative session. They understand the nuances of Virginia's complicated budget process. They're already working hard to ensure that the school boards are in compliance to the changes in the code, and they adjust it based on the budget. Can York County afford to not have this kind, can York County afford to take this kind of a risk? One of the tenets of the SBMA is that the 116-year monopoly of educational policy by the VSBA. Most lobbyists highlight the VSBA's premise to meet all the needs of all the school board members of the state. As a former VSBA member, I can attest to that. Stick with what works. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Last but not least, trust experience and expertise that's present right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uri. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at this time? All right, seeing no further speakers and having no further business.
I have a number. Can I speak?
Oh, yes, you may. All right, thank you. We have all of 10 and a half minutes.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Shandor. There's no doubt, as you can see tonight, there's been tension since January. We may have disagreements, especially with the new school board members, but let's not lose sight of what is important: the success of the students, teachers, and staff in this district. We want to remain number 3. They deserve focused learning environments free from political agendas. That's why I propose we must move forward together. Open communication and collaboration are key. Let's hear each other's perspectives. Board members, parents, teachers, and staff. By working together, we can find a solution that benefits everyone. Our school community, while ensuring our classrooms prioritize education and no political agenda. YCSD is a strong reputation, and together we can keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Erica Harris. I'm District 4. Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Richardson, I just wanted to say I appreciate you so much, and thank you for speaking out. I also appreciate that you continue to represent us all. Every single district, you represent us all. So Dr. Shandor and board members, I am here today to voice some concerns about recent events. I happened to be at the school board office on Friday and noticed that 3 of the 5 members were in a meeting in the next room. I also took note when the meeting seemed to continue into the parking lot of the school board office for quite some time. Yes, we are everywhere, we are involved, and we are watching. I take issue with the lack of representation from 2 districts in this meeting and took note of the absolute divide in the board. It continues outside of this room. How can a majority meet and discuss school board concerns without including 2 entire districts? In advocacy, this would be seen as a lack of full participation from the other board members and worthy of a state complaint. I would file a complaint on behalf of District 1 and District 4. I also noticed that when the students presented their projects earlier, Mrs. Fairman decided to talk about herself and her time teaching. but failed to address the teacher. So I just wanted to publicly address this. Thank you for working tirelessly to provide your students with opportunities that are engaging and educational. I also noticed that the students use technology to enhance their plans, which will give them a leg up in the world we live in today. I know it is not easy to put these projects together. Thank you for the time you spent on this project and for creating a classroom culture that is truly special. SBMA, this is a quote, does not provide legal advice and does recommend discussing all policy adoptions with the school board attorney. This to me itself says we are not liable for anything, and we really aren't an official organization that backs ourselves up. It's off of the site. You asked the students what their favorite part of the project was when they finished presenting. I want to let you know that mine was the rainbow, because it represents everything that you have openly sought to destroy. I loved that rainbow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Amy Brown. I'm in District 3, and I'm number 14, if that matters. Since I stood here at the February meeting and asked you to put politics aside and do your jobs, I've been waiting to be surprised and have you challenge my expectations. Boy, the arrogance on display tonight. I'm just going to skip a chunk there where there was a moment, but yeah. Mr. Pajovic, I do want to say I'm glad to see you actually engaging. Tonight I saw you ask some substantive questions for the first board meeting I've seen that happen, other than just a thank you for the presentation. So thank you for engaging. What I have been seeing is that rather than sincerely working to serve students, many of you are grandstanding, pushing elbows around, rather than serving our students. You serve all of the students, all of them with their varied and diverse backgrounds, their diverse learning needs, their non-traditional and traditional families and cultures. But when presented with a detailed presentation by Dr. Skinner's staff about the recommended literacy curriculum, there weren't questions about why this is the best curriculum to help my son learn to read. It was a concern about DEI. Diversity is not a foul word. And face it, your students are diverse. Your community is diverse, whether or not you choose to embrace it. Someone with concerns about inclusion, is that who should be sitting on the SEAC committee? I'm not sure. And equity, I don't even have time. I've got less than 3 minutes. It is troubling both in optics and practice that the vice chair and chair have both chosen to be removed from the Let's Talk platform. Ms. Goodwin is quoted in the media saying she couldn't keep up with the Let's Talk emails, so she'd prefer people to email her directly. Okay, even my 11-year-old sees the faulty logic in that. So why? Why remove yourself from this platform that is used in multiple school divisions to streamline for constituents like us the questions where maybe we don't know who that question goes to? Why remove yourself from that? Is it because it's anonymous? There are people who are afraid to confront you. I had my picture taken in a restaurant by 2 strangers who were finishing up a meeting. They're both here tonight, and one has passed me twice deliberately to make a comment to me. Is it a coincidence that they did that right after Mrs. Fairman left their meeting? I don't know. But consider the company you keep, because they are trying to intimidate
Thank you very
people.
much. Next.
Hi, my name is Jim Spencer. I live in the Bruton District. I pay taxes that help support the schools, and I do not want my taxes used to fund a culture war. We have a great school system in York County already. You should not be turning it into a political spectacle, but that looks like what you intend to do. You serve students. You don't serve a political agenda. Public service demands a commitment to all kinds of people, all kinds of families, all kinds of genders and religions. Above all, you ought to be basing your policies on truth. We've heard a lot here about militias. I was in the Capitol on January 6th, locked in the upper deck of the House chamber. I saw the militias. They were trying to break through the door. They were breaking the windows, okay? And they were all driven by a lie. And many of you probably, there are probably somebody sitting up here on the board, I hope not, who still believe the lies that are being foisted out there. My point is, truth has got to be driving what you do here. And you can't use free speech as an excuse to dilute the truth or to misinform people. It's not your job or your right to impose your private beliefs on public school children. It simply is not. And by embracing intimidation of teachers, censorship, and denial of history and science, what you do is risk taking a really good, exemplary school system and turning it into a political spectacle. And I've seen nothing but examples of that all night, up to and including this ridiculous policy that you can't seem to get straight. And if it is the policy, you ought to be sued, and I'm pretty sure it would not go your way in court. But look, public school boards that teach tolerance alongside of intellectual honesty and curiosity succeed. Boards that try to dictate morality, deny science, rewrite history, they eventually fail. And I ask you as a last request, never forget who you work for. You don't work for conservative or liberal theorists. You don't work for politicians or religious leaders. You work for students.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else?
Hi, good evening. I'm Tom Jett, District 5 resident. I have no prepared remarks tonight. I wasn't prepared to make any, but after listening through some of the discussion out in the queue outside, I felt compelled to make a few. First of all, no one's speech has been quelled tonight, and this was not an attack on the Constitution. That was a ridiculously hyperbolic comment you made. Everyone has had a chance to speak. I don't know exactly what the policy says verbatim. I heard what Ms. Fairman read. Seemed logical. I'm not sure I followed the logic, but it seemed like it had a purpose to it. Everyone has had a chance to speak. No one's speech has been quelled or they've been cut off or their microphone taken away from them. So, again, I was here last month and I asked everybody to please calm down.
Here, address here.
So I asked the people that are attending these meetings to please calm down, let you all get your footing, do your jobs, and then if there's something to substantively disagree with, do so. But this has begun since January. These attacks have begun since the first public meeting you had, and it's continued month after month after month. We're now in the third public meeting now. Nothing has changed. And I fear for, I'm surprised of what York County is. I didn't think it was this way. We are essentially a reflection of the greater country where we have two camps completely vulcanized in their ideological trenches. I dare ask that none of these people would want to have a substantive discussion with me about any of these issues. And I would probably be attacked for whatever views I might have. I would ask that maybe we just grow a pair and be able to have a conversation about some of this stuff as adults and stop throwing these politically driven, attacks at one another across the board, within and within the community. We should start talking to each other and stop yelling at each other. I support the board.
Thank you. Next in line.
Good evening. My name is Deb Wesley, and I am from District 4. I am the president of the York Education Association.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be quiet and allow the speaker to speak.
Thank you. I had other comments planned, but because of the time limit, they are not pertinent right now. I do appreciate you listening to us all tonight. I respectfully request that there is a policy change. Everybody deserves to be heard. If we come here and stand outside in the cold or the heat for 40 minutes before we're even allowed in the building, we should be heard. And if we didn't have an opportunity to pull our card so that we then were not signed up to speak, we should still be heard. We came to this meeting to be heard, and it felt like you wanted to shut everybody down, regardless of what we wanted to say. So I respectfully ask the board to change your policy. And the only other comment I have is for you, Madam Chair. I, again, respectfully request that you refrain from interrupting people up on the dais. I have watched you interrupt Mr. Richardson, Mr. Schaefer, and Dr. Shandor on more than one occasion. When you interrupt Mr. Richardson, you are interrupting my voice on the board because he is my representative. And I don't think that that is what your intent is, but that is the way it's coming across. And when there's been constant call for decorum and civility, that doesn't happen if you are interrupting a person speaking. And just to end with, I'm sure that's not really your intent. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you are not shutting people down, but you are shutting down my voice when you do that. And that is not the example we want to set for our students. So thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to all of us speak.
Thank you. Next. Mr. Hoagland, before you begin, if I could just say, we're about ready to be done, but we'll go ahead and these last four speakers will speak. All right. There you go.
Thank you. I'm Todd Hoagland from District 3. School board members and Dr. Shandor. I've previously spoken at the school board about the behavior of the board. I've gone over the functions of your behavior. I've also outlined a behavior intervention plan. Tonight I come to speak with another topic, and that's something that's very important to special educators like myself, and that's communication. Some people think that communication only happens when words are spoken. I have taught students throughout my 18-year career that were unable or unwilling to verbally respond or to speak at all. I find myself in another situation where I'm finding people that are unable or unwilling to communicate. This board. On February 14th, I emailed the entire board some questions. Those questions were for all board members. I received immediate responses from Mr. Schaefer and from Mr. Richardson. A couple days later, Mr. Pajevich responded. However, I then sent on February 23rd an email to Mrs. Goodwin asking her for a response. She responded on the 25th saying that her comments by the board would answer most of my questions. They did not. Again, on March 5th, I emailed my clarifying questions to Mrs. Goodwin. However, on March 15th, she responded saying that she gave her comments, she's not going to answer my questions, and she referred me to you, Mrs. Fairman. With these questions, I sent you on March 15th. Today is March 25th. Yep, just checking. Will you commit to participate in mediation within the board members to create a functioning board? Because right now it's not. Do you have any evidence of indoctrination of students in YCSD? You campaigned on this, and you said it's there, but there's no evidence. Will each of you take the opportunity to participate in the cultural competency training by VDOE? All teachers have to follow that. All of us have to do that. I think you should do it too. Your cultural competency is lacking. You do not include people that don't look like you or think like you, and that's a problem. I'm going to leave you with this. This is a communication chart. If you can't email me, just tell me yes or no, okay? Just tell me yes or no. Will you speak to me as a constituent of District 3? I've gotten no answers.
Thank you very much. And to clarify, I will say that all 5 board members have taken the 3 online trainings. Next, please. Next, please.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I support the whole school board.
We need your name and your district.
My name is Randy Eaton. I'm in District 1. And I know each and every one of you. You know, I'm glad that you guys step up. I've been in this county since 1979. That's 45 years. I've been involved in all kinds of activities. And I take it as an insult that people come up here and say that old people can't come up here and speak in front of the board. You know, I took a trip of Bruton High School students to Zweibrücken, Germany. I chaperoned that whole trip. I also went and talked to my company and got them to foot the bill for the bus to take us to Dulles and back. And not only that, I took care of all of them that were over there. First time they've ever been away. I stepped up and did that, you know. And to have people say, you don't have people in school. You know, on the way back from Dulles, I told the bus driver to stop. And that's when I found out the McDonald's cash registers only went to $75. Well, we tripped that a couple times. But I fed all the kids before I brought them back. I've also been involved when Bruton had the graduation night so we could get kids away from going to parties and stuff, that we had it over the James City County Rec Center. And then again, I got my plant manager and I got the corporation to kick in the money to finance that. So when you look and say that I don't have kids in school, I've been paying my state, local, and federal taxes that go back into the school system. I have every right to come up here to speak to this board. And I'm getting a little bit tired of people saying that I don't have that right. And people like me don't have that right. That's kind of like a little bit of discrimination here. So anyways, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for serving. It's not an easy job, and these people back here are not making it easier. So thank you again.
Thank you. Next in line.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Living. I live in District 3. The actions of the new board members are having a chilling effect on staff and teachers, as we're already starting to lose teachers in the district due to the hostile environment that you're creating in your crusade to root out non-existent indoctrination. The new board members continue to consider courses of action that benefit your agenda instead of the students and district families and staff. Actions such as the chair and vice chair removing themselves from Let's Talk and now using a politically motivated far-right school board association for policy writing, an association that was founded by a known disgraced racist and whose representative lied to our faces tonight about being nonpartisan. Any savings you think you're going to gain from them will be lost in the litigation you're inviting with this challenge and the lost time of your board attorney. You incorrectly conflate CRT and DEI. But whichever way you define it, I ask you, what exactly is it that you are so afraid of? Tonight, during the student portion, we recognized a highly diverse group of wonderful students and volunteers. And as you and all of us applauded and celebrated them, did you think about how you prefer that they not see themselves in their own curriculum? Do you not understand how your preference for sameness and exclusion hurts those students and their families? And no one is saying, quote, old people can't speak. We respect our elders and we value their feedback. The problem is when you have your retired cronies line up at 2 p.m. to take all the early speaking spots, knowing that working people can't get here that early, and then cut off comment after letting dozens of us stand out there in line for over an hour. When we complained about it during the discussion, one of them commented, "Come earlier." We have jobs. I'm sure you hoped that some people would leave, and it worked. But again, what are you afraid of? Why won't you let parents and concerned community members speak during the regular public comment? Some of you ran on platforms to remove politics from our schools, but you're the ones bringing outside political influence into YCSD. Oh, and one last thing. It's not a good look to be viewing profiles on TikTok while you're supposed to be in a school board meeting. Do better.
Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Alan Stevens, and I'm representing District 1 from the Bruton area. And I came in about an hour and 15 minutes later, so thank you for not closing the doors and keeping me out. But at the same time, too, I also want to say thank you for allowing Sister Haywood, who I've known since I was 5 years old, who is a founding member of this community and also has represented that board for so many years. So I appreciate you, even though it took 5 minutes to allow her to speak, which she has earned that time to actually speak. And when she spoke, she was providing information to you all to come together as one. You know, I have 2 daughters. I have one that's in high school at Bruton, one at Queens Lake. I pray to God that I'm able to get home tonight to at least Savage and give them a kiss on their forehead, to at least the time that I have had here and hear the back and forth going, it doesn't make any sense. We all are adults here. And to backtrack on what the young lady just said, and Zora, you say that you have your own business and you have employees. How many employees, you don't mind if you answer? 11. I've managed 137 employees. And I will respond back to the emails because they depend on me as a leader. So each one of you all are leaders here. So act like leaders, stop fighting. I commend Mr. Schaefer, I commend our superintendent, I commend Mr. Richardson. You know, they show their faces throughout the school district and they come and they are responsible. They treat people with respect. And hopefully the 3 of you all can that can rub on you all too. And it may seem like I have frustration in my voice because I'm taking my time where I could be at home. Eyes are on you all. Answer the emails. Stay off social media.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers and no further business on the agenda, I hereby declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.